and say, oh, you need to follow this process while giving CDF. You need to process watafuata your process, but you see, there is no legislation about nepotism in Kenya proper, because still kuna other ways of doing facets in life. So there will always be ways to beat the system, but unless it's just credible leadership. So think about it from that point. We need to make it in a way that we make it fashionable that to be an MP, you don't need to dish out money. Let us reward the people that are not paying money to get into parliament. Let us reward the people that have honestly shown desire to work for the country. Nationalistic leaders, let us reward those ones. Let us not reward those ones who are in wash. Let us not reward those ones who, you know, we know for sure they are goons as well. Back where I come from, Bungoma County, Didymus Baraza wants to run for governor. Asijui, he's likely to win because again, a lot of people are not interested in politics. Or second, they'll just not show up to vote. And he will mobilize his people, the ones he has paid, to go vote. He doesn't need much to win. I mean, because people don't show up. You, the people that reason enough. So, as we progress with the conversation, nataka mfikirie na hiyo story. Na manze, tusikuwe tu serious. Ni jioni nzuri, jioni njema. Tafadhali, msikuwe theoretical sana, mwanze classroom affairs. Hiyo inakwanga morning drive show. Huku ni unwinding. Umeteswa job, umeteswa na jam, umepigana huko na mpenzi wako, umekosana kidogo, wengine wana njaa. So please relax it. Let's have a conversation, but pia usikuje na story ya jaba tafadhali. So since it's my imebaki 40 minutes. You see how time moves and you enjoy it. So for my 40 minutes I'm going to put ladies first kwa sababu we're encouraging ladies to take up the conversation as well. So tunaenda kwanza na madem. Jicho la be amekuwa hapo, but hapana, acha tutafute. Ladies, please request for the mic and give us opinion. So since Jicho la be ndiye ako hapa, the first person, just go ahead. Chela, it's you I'm referring to.
Hey. Sasa hizo ni za wapi tena? Ukianza kusema tusikuwe serious alafu useme tukuwe serious, sasa unatuchanganya kidogo. Lakini wacha nitume salamu zangu kwako na KOT. I hope uko poa KOT. Niliona leo ulikuwa unapelekwa mbio kidogo kule town. Pole sana. I hope you're okay and I hope you're also safe. Na sijui umetupangia vipi kesho mipango tujue. Okay, I'm not saying you give us the plans per se, but I hope the plans that we have or you have for us or all of us iko nzuri. Mambo ya constitution ya 2010. I think mi bado tunakwanga complainer per se. Wacha niseme mi ni complainer kwa sababu I still always, as you've said, less than 40% of the 2010 constitution imekuwa implemented, but I think somehow the people ambao waliekwa kule, even the parts that probably should have been implemented in the right way wameenda wakamenda. Kuna
Chela,
siku kuna mtu alikuwa
Chela, correction. We
Eh.
said this is changed times. Wacha kusema watu waliwekwa, sema watu tuliwaweka hapo. Ownership ni sisi, si watu wengine, ni sisi. Ongea in
Ni
first
sisi tu.
persona.
Labda sikuwa nimevote. Labda
Bado
2022
your
nilikuwa
lack of
mtoto.
involvement in politics and governance is what placed them there. So
No,
take
I'm
ownership.
saying there is a probability by 2022 sikuwa nimefika miaka ya kuvote.
Fair
But
point.
that aside,
Yeah, fair point.
but okay, it's not true. I was of age by then. And yeah, so the governments, actually, it's not only once here 2020, it's not the current alone. All the governments that we've been putting in power, or the people that we've been putting in power, have actually been implementing it in a way that only favors them. Zile parts ambazo zilikuwa zinawafurahisha, hizo ndo wana implement, then the others that they feel are attacking them, because the 2010 constitution was written with the mind that the worst people would be in power. So yes, that is why una find how many years, 14 years down the line, they've not been able to actually fully implement it, kwa sababu most of those other, the 60%, are actually the parts ambazo haziwa favor, and even the 40% ambayo wameweza kuimplement, about another around 50% of the 40%, that's 20%, ni zile ambazo they've been able to find zile leeways ambazo constitution imepeana to maybe make a few changes here and there that can actually favor them. So yes, at 14 years, sahii constitution yetu ni teenager. At its teenage, our constitution is still iko physically, probably iko ime grow, but emotionally na psychologically bado tu ni mtoto. So it's a pity, and we should actually be worried. Maybe, yeah, we should actually be worried. And that's why when we say to change constitution, I don't think it's okay for us to change the constitution. We should just ensure that the constitution is implemented as it was wakati ilikuwa inatengenezwa, when they were wa Kiswahili man, wakati they were making it, vile walikuwa wametarajia ikue. Tuache tu story mingi. So that's my submission, and na next time usiniite nikiwa kwanza.
Tutakuita ukuwe wa kwanza. That is going to change. But thanks a lot. I have a question for you before you go. Do you
Okay.
have the constitution with you? Like, do you have a soft copy or a hard copy?
Niko
Kwa
na
tu
soft
sema tu
copy.
kweli. Sema tu
No,
kweli Chela.
actually I used to have the hard copy kitambo.
Mhm.
Then of course easy growing up and moving around,
Mm.
I think nilipoteza along the way. So actually I downloaded the constitution again, I think in June, wakati tulianza the liberation, nikai re-download again, because now I needed to reread it again. Okay, sijasoma yote, by the way, let me be
Okay.
honest, sijaisoma yote.
Sawa, if you can share the link on the comments hapo wase waende wai-download. I hope you are altruistic. Wewe si mchoyo. So,
Kama unatumia Android ama hata iPhone, enda
mm.
Play Store ama yeah, mahali unaweza download au mahali una downloading app, tafuta Constitution of Kenya 2010, you'll download the app soft copy na utakuwa nayo hapo kwa simu kama app. So any day anytime, kama mimi saizi I'm trying to go through it, naona kuna chapters, articles na kuna schedules nilikuwa nimeweka, kuna bookmarks, yeah, so you can play with it. Soma hii kitu kama Biblia ama Quran.
Exactly. Sorry. Nilijimute bila kujua. Okay, so thanks Chela, and manze, it's an amazing time to be around, how do I put it, around governance, because kama utakuwa active at this point, I don't think there's ever going to be another opportunity for you to be active. So apart from listening, be active, be an active listener. Checks only, it's been a while. Checks only.
Checks ayo anakuita, sijui kama unamsikia.
Ati ayo, umeona ayo wapi? Have you missed
Nishazoea
ayo?
ayo bana, sorry wanyama.
Ba-
Unajua
ah,
we ni mtu nakwanga nimechukia sana hii app, so at times I forget even to mention your name.
we have to work together. Una option. Hata mi sikupendi, but we have to do this. Checks only, man. It's your time. We are giving you the
Kidogo
opportunity.
tu nimalizane na customer please.
Haya, sawa, malizana na utume profits pia huku kwa Sauti ya Mwananchi. Ask Kochi. Watu. What's happening? Ochi.
Ochi, unasikia wanyama ama bado unafunga cyber?
Arab
Yo. Wanyama.
Ochi. Haya. Tuongeleshe. Arab, you are next.
Unajua ulianza ukasema ladies first. Sasa mimi nikajipea shughuli. Nimekuwa nikiosha vyombo.
Bana, tuambie maneno ya constitution. Hiyo ingine bana ni shida ya kibinafsi.
Bana sijajipanga, but this space is very important especially for people like me who are not constitution literate. And it will be so profitable to us to hear 1, 2, 3 things that we don't know about the constitution. As for me, I will be honest. Najua tu ile yenye inasema we the people are sovereign. Najua zingine lakini siwezi sema ni which article or which chapter. So this space is very important. The law students who are here, if there are lawyers inside here, advocates, they'll help us understand the constitution better, and especially the newly promulgated constitution, which was done 14 years ago. So it's a very nice idea, a very brilliant idea, KOT, to bring this space. I will make my submissions later because napika mini bachelor. But thank you very much. Thank you, Wanyama.
So Wanyama, nataka ni wa take through this constitution tu haraka. So we have 18 chapters in the new constitution. Na chapter 1, it only talks about sovereignty of the people and supremacy of this constitution. Ndio maana mnaona hapo, you people have the power. Yeah. And so chapter 2, it talks about the republic, meaning our nation. And then chapter 3, it talks more about the citizenship. Yeah. Kuna dual citizenship and so on and so forth. And then chapter 4, it talks about the Bill of Rights. Yeah. And then chapter 5, wale mmegawiwa shamba na mababu zenu na baba zenu, yeah? Kuna land and environment, chapter 5. Then chapter 6, kuna leadership and integrity. Alafu chapter 7, kuna representation of the people. Chapter 8 talks more about the MPs, the legislature. Chapter 8 talks more about the cabinet secretaries and the mwizi, you guys know, the executive. And then chapter 10, it talks more about the crybaby, the judiciary. Then chapter 11, it talks more about now the thieves who are within us, the devolved government, yeah, wale wa nini counties. Then chapter 12, it talks about public finance, and you guys know that hapo kwa public finance kuna issue sana. Then chapter 14, it talks about the national security, where every time we exercise chapter 1 in national security, it always lets us down. Then chapter 15, it talks about commissions and independent offices kama your IEBC. But have they ever been independent? Hakuna. Then chapter 16 now talks about amendment of this constitution. Amendment of this constitution. Yeah. So if you guys want to amend this constitution, then we should be guided by chapter 16 of this constitution. Then chapter 17, it talks about general provisions. Alafu the last chapter, which is 18, it talks about transitional and consequential provisions. Anyway, Wanyama, you can take over.
Sorry. Yeah, I had not unmute myself. Manze, hii sijui nini nani affect. Thanks KOT for giving that breakdown.
Sema nimeona tu mgeni. Nakujua. I know you.
Koino. Guys who are coming to the space at this moment, thanks for joining us. We are speaking about 14 years of the new constitution. Personally, we should stop calling it new. We should start just referring to it properly. It's called the 2010 constitution. So tuangalie vile tunasonga nayo. Generally, we're just speaking about what do you know about the constitution and what is your celebration about it. Is it working? Is it not working? What's your view about that as well? And at this point, we want to also let you know that the Sauti ya Mwananchi team is growing and we have a new co-host. At least bana, tulisikia kilio chenu, ikabidi tuwaongezee madem in the team. If you don't know the Sauti ya Mwananchi team, that is huyu jamaa mwenye sipendi anaitwa Marvin Mabonga. The feeling is musho, tupendani but we have to do it. Marvin and I are the hosts. So I am Wanyama Wafula. I host in the morning drive show. Marvin hosts at night. Chenye tunafanya hapa saizi. Then there is a team of co-hosts. That's Escowino, huyo mwenye anaongea hapo, amekuwa akiongea a few minutes ago. Then there is Ayo the sixth, Rabia Hawa, who's the other lady, and now we have another lady. Her name is Binti Africa. So Binti, welcome to the team. What do you have to say, Binti? Ngojeni msikie sasa kizungu huko. Unajua Rabia anakuanga na Kiswahili sanifu, hapa sasa tumewaletea Kiingereza kizuri. So it's a balanced it's a balanced team. What do you have to say, Binti? Binti, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you guys? I'm Mabonga Echoino. Hi, everybody else. How you doing?
Umesikia? Guys, have you heard that? Anyway.
Mwambie binti arudie. Hata nimemaliza kupika na kula bana na sisikii hizo vitu hata mimi niko kwa ile mrenga ule asikii. Ambia binti aongee kwa lugha yenye wananchi wanaweza elewa sasa. Hiyo alikuwa anaongelesha watu wengine.
Nimesema uko aje?
Binti, wasifikirie tu ni accent uko nayo. What do you have to say about the constitution? So, please, go ahead.
Yeah.
With that lingua of yours, usisikize Kowino. You just do you. We want to hear that British accent.
Yeah, like for real, I don't think it needs changing like at all. I feel like okay, for now at least, because we haven't really tried it. It's like how to explain it. It's like you have a car and it's not moving. So you, instead of like taking off the handbrake, you go and start taking off the tires and changing the engine and doing whatever. Like just take off the handbrake and let the car roll, you know? So we need to give it like a good try first, like implement it properly. And then after that, if it's still not working, then we can think about changing it. You know? Am I wrong?
I get you. I agree. Thanks for supporting my side of the argument. But the constitution is just too big, too big for me as well. But we'll find a way of breaking it down, especially for the audience. Let us continue with now. I'm almost done with my hour, by the way. So let us continue with the same energy. Ukikuja hapa kwa mic, mi naongea lugha zote. I don't have an accent, but we'll get better at it. Mi
I don't
naongea
have one
Kiswahili.
either. Missing the accents.
Ukikuja hapa kwa speaker panel, speak the language you're comfortable with. Don't feel like you are being pressured. Universally accepted languages, English, Swahili. We'll try. Tutaona watu wa French at some point. Now to go to the other speakers, Arap alikuwa hapa, sijui ameenda wapi. Ndiwa, how are you?
I'm fine. Unanisikia?
Nakusikia loud and clear.
Najua shida sijui ni mbona sisikizi watu wengine, sijui ni simu yangu ndio iko na shida, but ni sawa.
Wanakusikiza bro, usijali, wewe ongea, wanakusikiza. That's the whole point.
The first thing ni nashukuru sana kwa kuingia kwa hii space na Wanyama, tunatoka nawe kaunti moja, Bungoma County.
Bungoma Mafia, welcome to the space. Karibuni sana.
Natoka Mount Elgon.
Sawa, karibu bana. What do you have to say about the constitution?
So about the constitution, mimi yenyewe personally I don't have anything to celebrate about this constitution kwa sababu we have the constitution but we are not following the constitution. For example, wale venye waleta hao mas CS. Now we have almost tuko karibu 50, but it is not allowed by the constitution. So even if they say that they want to amend, it is just like they want to oppress us more, you know. And tuko na watu wenye wanakosa pesa. Mimi ni mwalimu, I'm a teacher, but just see now, tunaenda strike, hawataki kutuona sisi, lakini wanasiasa wako na pesa, wanalipwa allowances ya nini? So this constitution is just there kuoppress tu ule mwenye hawezi sikika. Na what I can urge you is that let's press on. Na tukiweza kumtoa huyu jamaa kwa kiti tumtoe, na kama hatutaweza saa hii, wacha tu tuchukue tu kura 2027 tusema aende nyumbani. For the sake of Didmus Barasa huko nyumbani huko, tunajua huko Bungoma kidogo hapo Kimilili amebeba watu ufala sana, wanaimba tu yeye, lakini 2027 ikifika, wacha si vijana tujitokeze na tuweze kuchange the constitution. Hapo tu ndo tunaweza, lakini
Ndiwa pale Kimilili, usijali, 2027 naenda kuchukua uongozi hapo kama MP. Who's coming after Didmus?
sawa sawa, karibu.
Ndio walikuwa wamemaliza
Yeah, I'm okay.
kwa kuiweka short and sweet. And by the way, my Bungoma people, thanks manze, mmejitolea. I was even being by the KOT, we need to join those groups bana. Waso manze, mmejitolea. Nasikia mpaka waso wameanza sensitization huko kwa ground Bungoma ku download X. So manze, thanks a lot kwa sababu kujisukuma kusema download X, mnaambia wazazi. Okay, my dad, mom, join these spaces na listen to it. Man, that's the way to go. Active. Na vijana wamesema by the way wazazi hakuna kunini kudanganywa na politician. They are being forced to join these online spaces. So we have a diverse audience and it will keep growing. So kudos to you guys. Na muendelee kuja kuchukua huko mic mkiongea. Everyone from Kenya is also advised kuja hivyo because that's how the ground is shifting slowly towards the point of mkuwe literate. Mabonga alisema anasimama huko Kimilili. So mjue tu hivyo, mta support KOT at some point. As well, sisi bado tuko kwa media tu huku. Mweru, Mweru.
I'm here. I'm here. Thanks for giving me the mic. I mean, I'm so happy that, hi everybody. Hi guys. So I live in the diaspora and to be specific, I live in the US. So when it comes to this discussion of the Kenyan constitution, it really has become sort of personal for me. So yes, so there's a lot of peaks and packs about it that is very positive. Very, very positive. Majority of it, honestly, is essentially a copy paste of the US Constitution. And my principle as a Kenyan and as an African living in the diaspora is African problems need African solutions. And I've said that in several spaces. So there's a lot about this constitution that is not applicable in Kenya. Let's be realistic about that and accept the reality. I live in the US. We have 50 states. Each state has one governor. And then we have senators and then we have mayors. At the county level, we do have representation. But if you compare the structure of how a state is and sometimes how big it is, and sometimes even like just, I would say, like, for instance, the revenue collected in some states is similar to a country. So there's no way this constitution is of any help in Kenya. And I can back it up with numbers. Let me just start with some key things I've noticed before I go into deep details about this. So, for instance, the youth in Kenya, you're categorized as a marginalized group. I even had to Google a marginalized group in the US. It's not reflective of what a marginalized group is in Kenya, because in Kenya we have tribes and all tribes are Kenyans, no matter what tribe you are from. So, for instance, the youth in Kenya is not a marginalized group. You're the majority of the population. Actually, in all honesty, the people who are a marginalized group now are people who are in their 60s. You guys are 75% of the population. You're the majority. You're not a marginalized group. How are you being categorized in a constitution in the same category as somebody who is disabled? You know what I mean? So there's certain things about this constitution that really, really peeve me and worry me. So the main one, the other one, just before I proceed to one other major thing that I've had to take a lot of time and do my research on, is the presidential aspect of it. I've said this to several people who I see their presence in the group here. So, for instance, the president, the requirement to run for president. I made a remark once in a space, and somebody corrected me because they said that Gen Z cannot be president in Kenya. I checked the same constitution. There's nowhere it stipulates. I know in the past prior to this, it used to be you have to be at least 35 years of age to run for presidency. I looked at the constitution and correct me if I'm wrong. There's nowhere it stipulates that you have to be 35 years of age. I have been seeing things surfacing on X that says Gen Z cannot be president. That's bullshit. Unless I misunderstood or misread it. I don't see anywhere in this current constitution that stipulates you have to be over 35 years. The main thing I noticed, of course, is the dual citizenship thing, which I understand why. But also, it says for you to qualify to run for president, you have to be able to basically qualify to run as MP. So I looked in MP, the requirements. There's no age stipulation. It only says you need to be an adult in Kenya. From my understanding, an adult in Kenya is how old? 18. In the US, to be an adult, you have to be 21. I looked at the IEBC website in terms of requirements. There's nothing that says that. So that is something that, we have to basically clarify and spread to the news, because I know there's a lot of Gen Z that want to run for president and they have already been convinced that they're not qualified. So other things that really make me feel like I'm honestly not convinced. This is a fact. We cannot afford the kind of governance that is dictated by this constitution. I did the math and I've presented these numbers to several groups and spaces. For instance, the constitution talks about you have 47 governors. Then you have deputy governors. Just governors themselves, governors, deputy governors, and I included even their benefits. You're spending 13 billion a year to have these governors. When you talk about senators, you have 47 of them. The US, the whole US, come on, we have 50 governors only, and they don't even get this amount of benefits. For governors only, you're spending 122 million per year for their benefits. You're paying them almost $1 million a month, and you're providing airtime for them. It doesn't make any sense. So when we talk about we need to change this constitution, let's do the calculations first. And if we want to understand why this government is finding new ways every single day of raising money. Even if I was to become president in Kenya with this payroll itself only of governors, senators, MPs, women rep, MCA, it's amounting to 44 billion a year just for those people only. Those 5 people only, 44 billion per year. Multiply that by 14 years that you've had this constitution in place. And this is not even including how much you're paying the president or how much you're paying the DP, forgetting even how much they're stealing. The other numbers that rattle me is the fact that revenue-wise in Kenya, you're collecting 13.3 trillion. They've collected 13.3 trillion in the last 10 years. So, let's think about it like this. We cannot afford this. We can't afford some of these things that are stipulated. I can understand how and why some measures were placed and put in place, because at the time Kenya was going through a tribal crisis. But in my honest opinion, we have to decide what we want. If we want economic development, if we want your college tuition for the government not to find ways, because they need to raise money to secure their own salaries. That's why you're seeing some things like this funding model. If anybody on this space goes to school in the US, you can see what they're trying to do in Kenya. It's the same shit, very similar they do here. And that brings me back to my principle. African problems need African solution. This kind of a constitution is very, very appropriate to some degree, but to majority of the degree, it's costing so much money. I presented some of these details to some of my friends here in the US, and they were laughing. They could not believe it. So, yeah, I agree. there is positives, but the negatives, honestly, are it's hard to wrap my brain around it. And then when you think about it, if how can Kenya afford to pay a governor $1 million, a million Kenya shillings, sorry to say, a month, 12 million a year? A teacher's salary is only, I was looking, average in Kenya is 56,000. A nurse's salary in Kenya is about 56,000. These people are always on strike demanding payment. I have never seen women rep going on strike that they haven't been paid. I've never seen MCAs going. Don't even get me started on MCA because this triggers me. Women rep triggers me the most. So we'd rather spend 837 million to have women represent us. What are we talking about? We need to decide what our priorities are. Should I prioritize as a woman in Kenya, a young woman in Kenya, to have a woman sitting in office making almost 9 million a year just so I have a face who is a woman representing me? Or should we eliminate these positions that have proven to be, sorry for lack of a better word, because majority of the women reps have been trying to see how essential they are. They're useless. And we're wasting money. All this money needs to be diverted to education. And the cost of education is not going to go down.
Where land? Please land.
Yeah, so anyway, sorry, I apologize for taking up so much time. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about this constitution, let's follow the money and see how we are wasting money as we continue to enact it. Thank you.
I was laughing at your comment of women reps are trying to feel essential. That's what I was laughing at.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
non-essential. I mean, sorry to interrupt, but I have read a book called Essentialism. Less is more. Less is more. I don't need a woman making almost $1 million a month to represent me. I need education. I need my education to be free. If majority of the population is between the age of 15 and 13, what are the essential needs? Education. So should we find excuses and reasons to waste money on salaries on people who are already rich? No.
Sawa, tumekusikia Mweru, tumekusikia. Maintain the anger,
Okay.
as I always say. As I always say, guys, if you're mad, come speak to the spaces. Don't drink water. Breathe in, breathe out, come and vent. This is Sauti ya Mwananchi. Let's go to Kenyans and then we will follow closely by Dan chapter. Kenyans. Mtu wa Seti.
Wanyama.
Yes, Koina.
Actually kuna kitu Mweru amesema I wanted to highlight on. Nimekuwa nikiona by the way. Hiyo part ya to vie for the presidency. Kwa constitution by the way there is nowhere stated lazima ukuwe at the age of 35 at all. Ukiangalia qualifications of the president, that is not one of them. So unless the legal experts wako maybe up and down watuambie if there is an act of parliament that says you must be 35 and above, then actually anyone who has attained the age of 18 and has all the certificates required and is a vice president, unless there is an act of parliament saying so. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay, good evening all of you.
just hata mimi to add on that, there is this guy we were anaitwa Muthiora ama sijui anaitwaje. This guy tulikuwa naye leo kwa protest amongst those who were arrested. This guy in 2022 he vied for presidency, yeah. And so when he vied for presidency, he presented his papers to IEBC. But aka nini alikuwa left out because of the age, yeah, hakuwa amefika 35 years. I guess you guys know ule jamaa alichoma nini, alichoma the voters card time fulani hapo nini hapo Bomas of Kenya mahali kulikuwa wanafanya hizo vetting za IEBC. So hadi mimi sijaona kwa constitution ukitaka kuwa president ati lazima ukuwe umefika 35 years. Haiko hapo, inasema tu as long, in fact let me just go through the constitution, niko naye hapa. Wanyama endelea tu alafu mkishamaliza natafuta hiyo chapter. Yeah, sijui ni ya leadership.
Cheki.
Yes.
Tuangalie kama
Good evening.
anafaa kupimwa kama kuna akili poa. Unaona kama Ruto yake ni mbaya. Tuangalie pia hiyo.
So tumesikia guys, we're progressing nicely. I said Kenyans was next. Kenyans, mtu wa City. Are you able to hear me before I continue?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you, but kuongea kwa
Okay,
next
sawa.
alafu
When
next
you're
ni
ready, yeah, when
next
you're
tu
ready,
nitakuwa ready.
request. Sawa.
Okay.
When you're ready, request for the mic again. Okay.
Good evening.
Next
Good evening.
was
Good evening.
Dan chapter. Titus, please. Kuna kuanga na queue hapa hivi. There is a flow of people, so when it comes to your time, you'll be given a chance. So just wait. Dan chapter. Can you hear me? Mr. Dan chapter. DP.
Wait, hold
Going
on.
once.
Maybe you can't hear. DP, can you
Yeah,
hear Wanyama? Nope. DP.
I think you can't. Okay. Ochi, are you able to speak? Wacha niache Ochi kwanza. Ochi, sort out your issues at the moment. Then there is Glass King, KE. Glass King, KE. Someone please call out Glass King. Maybe you can't hear me.
Glass King, KE. Amaniwa Wanyama. Or is it both of us? Glass King, can you hear us?
Blasking. Naona unmute mic, but I think maybe in network because probably he's talking. Unless mimi ndio simsikii.
Yeah,
No, I
me
can't
too.
hear him.
I think
Glass King.
Glass King, please sort your internet out and then come to the mic as well.
So Wanyama as go Glass King and assault Mike. Article 136 of this constitution yenye tuna celebrate kesho 14 years. Of course we should be celebrating in nini. Si mnaona hata shule kule Western watu wakishinda wanaendanga streets, yeah? So wale watu mmesoma Kamsinga you understand. Wale watu tumesoma Misiko Friends hatujaenda streets. So wale mmesoma Kamsinga na zile shule kubwa kubwa you understand. Whenever you win you go to the street. So hata birthday siku hizi tunaendanga kupiga bash. So tomorrow. Anyway, article 136 of this constitution inasema election of the president. The president shall be elected by registered voters in a national election, conduct in accordance with this constitution and any act of the parliament regarding regulating presidential election. I think hiyo age ya kusema ni 35 probably iko hapo kwa nini act of parliament regulating presidential election. So inafaa tuangalie ile act ya presidential election ndio tujue nani waliweka hiyo upuzi hapo at must to 35. Alafu an election of the president shall be held on the same day of the general election, member of parliament, hizo vitu zote. Alafu qualification and disqualification for election as president. A person qualifies for nomination as a presidential candidate if the person is a citizen by birth, is qualified to stand for election as a member of parliament. Mkiangalia kwa member of parliament inasema any person mwenye maintain your age 18 is eligible to vie as a member of parliament. And this article 137 mnasemanga sijui sabbaticals and what inasema for a person to qualify to vie as a president, yeah, he must have qualified to stand for election as a member of parliament. Anyway, malawyer bana inafaa mkuja mtuchambulie hii kitu. And also is also nominated by a political party or an independent candidate and is nominated by not fewer than 2,000 voters from a majority of the counties, meaning kama tuko na county 47 inafaa upate at least 2,000 votes from 20 what half ya 47 ni ngapi? Mtapiga hii hesabu alafu muniambie. I'm sure ni 28 ama 29 hapa. Then of course he owe allegiance to a foreign. A person is not qualified for nomination as a president a presidential candidate if the person owes allegiance to a foreign state or is a public officer or is acting in any state or other public office. Clause 1B sijui nini. Anyway, ni hivyo. I think mmeona for any person, bora unaweza kuwa una qualify kuvai for member of parliament kama mimi, because I know I qualify to vie for member of parliament for Kimili constituency come 2027, and I'll do that. So probably I also qualify to vie for presidents, unless kama tuko na lawyers hapa, mtuchambulie hii kitu bana. Naweza enda kwa kiti ndogo Kimili na kumbe nafaa kukomboa inchi. So Wanyama,
Yes, Baba. Thanks, KOT. Ni top of the hour in 2 minutes. So, guys, I'm just going to read the comments and then we see how this goes. But thanks a lot for doing this. Na naona watu wako active kwenye comments. Watu kuuliza kuwa approved to the speaker panel. It allows only 12 at a point. So, please bear with us at kunyimi mic. Yeah, it's just that the queue might be longer, or as well the speaker panel imejaa. #police is saying the moment we start talking about amending the constitution, we open the door for politicians to misuse that power of amendment. It becomes open season. Let's leave the constitution as is and prioritize implementation. #please, najua we ni wakili, panda hapa juu kuje explainie people deeply, because they have kwanza Kowino will really appreciate if you get a lawyer hapa. So tafadhali
Yeah,
kuja hapa juu.
I've DM'd Teddy and Wanjira, so if they'll respond kama wako online, they'll sure come.
Ako hapa, wacha apande hapa hivi juu. Huyu ni wakili.
Hashtag apande kwanza, nimeona comment yake, niko na swali kwake.
Yeah, acha apande hapa kwa speaker. Hawa akikuja ni sawa, lakini kuna mawakili hapa. Ni several of them. Please come to the speaker panel. Ochi, listening, constitution literature. #police again. That narrative about abolishing women reps is very dangerous. Panda tena to the speaker panel. At criminals, teacher. Funnels me at criminals, let's follow each other. Uhuru Kenya is saying Article 137. By war is saying madness in some presenters like Mweru. KD, haya, Binti Africa. You have been enrolled into government. Yes. KD, yes. Yes, we won. Binti Africa is now a co-host of Sauti. So,
Kwanza that
imepigwa
KG. Wanyama, hiyo KG last time.
Mwambie Mr. Speaker sir.
Mr. Speaker, sir, there's nothing you're going to do. We are in parliament. Maumau grandson is distributing copies of the constitution for free. That's a good one, by the way. New Wangari Maathai. Hey, it's been a while. New Wangari Maathai. You should also continue giving opinions. And thanks for tagging Maumau grandson.
Wanyama.
Mm-hmm.
On that, mwenye ana distribute the constitution for free, so anaweza maybe sema those who want to reach him wamfikie wapate their copies. Me, I have my copy here.
Mm-hmm.
Kwa mkono hapa, najua yeye ako na yake hapo kwa simu.
Mm-hmm.
Soft copy, which is also good. Kama KOT najua ako na soft copy. Yeah, but those ones, the copies, at least there's someone who is offering them for free. Kwa na hizi copies za constitution bana.
Okay, sawa.
Na tusiweke kama maridadi, tuisome.
Sawa. Wamekusikia na pia mimi nimekusikia. Anthony Omoro anasema there is no repercussion, censure or even punishment for violating the constitution for the elite political class in or extremely wealthy individuals in society. How can this be fixed? Swali muru hapo bana. All of us attending this movement, civic education or strategizing spaces should make a point of arming ourselves with a copy of Katiba 2010. Lazima, it shall. We shall. Bill Gates. Host, do something. I have to share with you guys. Hey, okay. Gates. Panda huko juu. CFA Nora. Lady Nora. Pia umekaa sana bila kuja kuchangia hii mada. Unasema we the people. Of course, it's us the people. Kuna mtu mwingine. And we should start owning this conversation. Usiseme ati watu wenye waliweka hao bad politicians. Sema sisi tuliweka hao bad politicians in place. Ni sisi, si watu wengine, ni sisi. the lack of voting from our end as well ni makosa. Okay, it's top of the hour, 3 minutes past top of the hour. I've been your favorite Wanyama Wafula. As always, they bully me to start. I don't know why, but ni sawa tu. Siku yao yaja. As I give it back to Marvin Mabonga, I see Ayo the sixth is here, and Esco Wino. Those are the co-hosts, and the new baby in town. See ati baby literally, but we have a new co-host that's Binti Africa as well. So guys, take it up. Asanteni sana. Please remember to follow all the hosts and co-hosts, follow all the speakers. When you're kubamba, when you're jakubamba, we create the movement. Keep spreading the information. Keep tuning in to Sauti ya Mwananchi because we create all this content for you. Ukisha soma, please educate the masses on the ground because tutakuwa tunafanya kazi bure if we are on spaces for hours and hours and there's nothing you're going to do. And that's why I was celebrating my Bungoma people. At least charity starts from home. I'm so proud of you guys. Endeleeni kuinject to our parents and fellow youth in Bungoma because huko kuna shida kubwa sana. Mimi na Mabonga tutakuja huko na tuinject. Asanteni sana. Back to you Mabonga.
Who are the people? We are the people. So you are the person. Wewe ndio umeweka huyo Ruto hapo. Na umetumia hii katiba kumweka hapo na unaweza mtoa. Wewe ndio umeweka ule MP wenu hapo, and of course you are guided by the constitution. Yeah, tunakwanga na siku moja tu ya kupiga kura. Unless kama sasa tunataka kufanya venye tunafanya, because nimeangalia article 1 of this constitution. Inasema sovereignty of the people and supremacy of this constitution. Inasema all sovereign powers belongs to the people of Kenya and shall be exercised only in accordance with this constitution. Wanasema the people may, optional, they may exercise their sovereign power either directly or through their democratic elected representatives. By doing it directly, it means we storm the parliament, we storm the state house. We are exercising it directly because the constitution says people may, but before that, people shall exercise, the power in accordance with this constitution. So at least hizo ndo vitu mimi zinanifurahishanga nikianza kusoma constitution na article 37 which requires us to go to the streets to picket, demonstrate peacefully to present the petitions. So I think Binti, are you ready to run for 30 minutes at least? Tuchangamshe hawa vijana huko chini.
Yeah, yeah.
Intakana useme with the accent. Be, are you ready?
Unanichosha vibaya.
Okay. Karibu sana kwenye mic Binti. Asante.
Hi, hello people. How are you? So tomorrow, you guys said it's the birthday of the Constitution, and what I want to know, by the way, because I have to admit, I only started reading this thing recently, like in the past 3 months or so. So why don't we get taught it like in school from nursery to whatever? Like they just inject some small information, some small doses here and there, you know? Anyway, so yeah, tomorrow is Katiba Day. I want to hear from you guys. Are you showing up to the streets? And who's bringing cake, by the way? We can't have a birthday without a cake. Who's bringing the cake? Kenyan Voice, are you ready to speak? Kenyan Voice.
Yes, I can speak. Thank you, Binti Africa. Asante KOT Wanyama. So kitu yenye mimi naweza ongea je constitution. I think Wakenya lazima tukue careful history ya watu kusaizi kwanza kuongea story ya ati bloated government referendum. The moment tutaanza history ya referendum, hii conversation yote ita change from governance na itakuwa story ya politics, na wase wataanza kuingiza maneno zingine zenye itafika time tutashindwa Kenya tunachagua. Itafika wataeka vitu, so there'll be good things in there and then there'll be bad, terrible things. I think mmesahau story ya BBI. People have forgotten BBI. So things will be inserted there that we don't want, and then they force us to pick between two things. Waseme you have to pick either this one or the old one. So I think right now tuko na shida mingi. Story ya constitution constitution yetu, those of you who here are older, watu wenye wako almost especially millennials mnajua hii process ya constitution making ilichukua how long and how many people it took. Now, what has happened over the last 10 years of the probably 15 years of this push to adopt to implement the constitution is that kuna vitu zimekuwa hijacked. Na hii ilianza immediately venye Uhuru aliingia. I don't know if you guys remember the first thing that Uhuru did. I think Raila at the time tried to push for another referendum in 2013. And the thing that, and you know what Raila always does with these referendums from back in the day. So he uses these four things to try and I may be wrong, but I think now, with hindsight, that he uses these things to remain relevant. So what he did at the time, 2013, Uhuru, to counter that push, pushed for MCAs waongezewe packs na salaries. And that was the beginning of maneno ya making this feel like a bloated government. It's not bloated, people. It is the salaries that are too high. Now, here's, and many people like to compare Kenya to the US because many of these the things that we put in our constitutions, we borrowed from the US. But it's not exactly the same. Now, the US, for example, has 3,500 counties. Mweru was saying here, a governor in the US compared to a governor in Kenya. No, we cannot compare the two, people. A governor in the US is in charge of about 45, in some states, maybe 40 million, 50 million people, right? In Kenya, some governors are responsible for very, very few people. So the counties in the US, 3,500. So some counties have even like over 1 million people, the urban counties. So I think the problem, what happened when we were adopting our constitution, tulichukua the county unit. So in Kenya, instead of having states, tukasema, okay, let's have counties. And then tukuwe na county governor, which in the US, no, they don't have county governors. They have state governors, right? So ikachanganyisha watu. So now we have small local authorities in Kenya, and then we have people who want to behave like governors in the US. And therefore, they want big salaries. They are behaving like they are really governors, which I don't think they are. And now, if you allow me just one more minute, before 2010, before our new constitution, tulikuwa na county councils, tulikuwa na city councils. I think na tulikuwa na, what was the other one called? I think it was called, there was 3 of them: county councils, municipal councils, county councils, and city councils. Kulikuwa na around 67. I was reading this the other day. Kulikuwa around 67 municipal councils. Kulikuwa na 43 county councils, na kulikuwa na 3 city councils. So now, city councils ilikuwa Nairobi, Mombasa, na Kisumu. Now all of these, we converted, post 2010, we converted them to like 47. So to reduce. And then kulikuwa na councillors. Back in the day, kulikuwa na almost 3,500 councillors back in the day. But the difference now is that now we are paying the people who used to be councillors much more money. We are paying people who used to be chairman of county councils or city councils or municipal councils much more money. So the problem is not representation. The problem is the salaries. Salaries are bloated. People are feeling these people have made themselves to be more important than what they should be. So government should be where people come to deliver services for the people, not to become rich. So mtu hafai kuingia kwa gavaki expect that we should pay him a lot of money. No. So the problem is the salaries, and that's where the salary SRC has gone wrong. SRC imeanza. Why would the governor of Nairobi, where they make so much money, the county collects so much revenue, alipwe the same amount of money, now somebody in a small rural county, like I don't know which one I can say, for example, but a small rural county where there is no revenue, we send so much money there, and they earn the same money. So SRC ndio me to fail, and that's where I land. Thank you guys. Please, manana ya constitution, forget about it. Our constitution is good. Let us deal with the problems of remuneration. We are paying these people too much money for what they're doing for us. So that's all. That's where I land. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kenyan Voice. I don't know if you guys have seen this picture of a comparison of the GDP, compared like for different countries. The comparison, yani everybody is sort of level, so some are higher, but Kenya is all the way to the sky. Why are we paying people so much to do nothing? Why do we allow that to happen? Anyways, Glass King, I know you were here before. Can you speak now? Can you hear me? Sama.
Before you give it to Glass King, I wanted to ask Kenyan Voice something. Kenyan Voice, we recently had Dr. Ikuro Kot here. Dr. Ikuro Kot is one of the members of the COE, Committee of Experts, people who drafted and wrote the 2010 Constitution. And he admitted to us that he said here publicly that the Constitution is not perfect, and he has to agree that maybe they rushed some things. They didn't know how they'll turn out later. But if he was given the chance to write it today again, it'd change a lot of things. And there are even some positions that he'd scrap off. And that even reiterated it in his the 2019 Punguza Mizigo Constitution. What do you say about that? Because if the author of the Constitution said some articles need to be changed, needs to be amended, what makes you believe it is perfect the way it is?
Constitution is not perfect. There is no constitution in the world that is perfect. That's why you hear, like in America, they have like these things that they like to
I
call.
can't hear Kenyan Voice. Anaongea Wanyama?
Yeah, he's answering.
Unanisikia?
Oh, let me drop. I can't hear him, and I just asked him.
Can you hear me, Binti Africa?
Yes, I can hear you. If you just give it a second, for Kawino is gonna drop and then he's gonna come back up so he can hear you. But in the meantime, let's just go to who had I said? Oh, Glass King. Lakini, where's he gone? Okay, so let's go to Sun. Lakini, don't forget your answer because Kawino is coming back.
Binti Africa.
Hi, how are you? Good evening.
Good evening to you. Wanyama? KOT. Mko poa wote, si ndio? Now, let us not forget that we are this, as much as we about our Katiba, let us not forget that we have somebody who really fought it. And if you try to introduce some things, he will be so happy kufanya nini, to bring in things ambazo mwenyewe atafurahia. Yes, the Katiba ileta vitu ambazo people, women reps, MCAs, blah 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 blah, all doing one job. Hatujui hata wengine kazi zao ni gani. But as much as tunataka tubadilishe vitu kadhaa, the butcher of Sugoi, that's what is waiting for. Anyway penye ataingilia. So guys, let us just be careful. We fight the war that we can win, not a war that will give these guys a leeway to bring in things that will suit them. That's just what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sam, for your submission. Kenyan Voice, I think Kawino is back. I think he asked you about one of the writers of the Constitution admitting that he would change some things about it. Kawino, can you hear Kenyan Voice?
Hello, can you hear me? Kawino, ni Kawino ama ilikuwa KOT?
Ilikuwa KOT. Kawino, kwani umeenda wapi? Wewe, hebu fix your Wi-Fi before you come to this space. Okay, just give him a second to come back up again.
So
Okay, for now we'll just go to hashtag police.
Right. Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. I've just come because I've been summoned very loudly. Today I was planning to just listen in. But since I'm here, perhaps I can go ahead and also just give my views about what I think in relation to our current constitution. I like what somebody said that 14 years is actually not a long time. Like our constitution is technically still a teenager. And I don't think we need to be in a rush to amend it. And I've heard the comment that has just been made now about the fact that even one of the drafters believes that, it's not perfect. They could have done things differently if they were to draft that constitution right now. And I think that may well be the case. Although I think the constitution as is, it works out perfectly for us. I think the moment, I also want to echo what the previous speaker has talked about. The moment we start opening doors for amendment, we create a precedent. And that is something that we do not want. Already there was an MP who was talking about amending the term for presidents to be 7 years. That idea is already floating around. So we don't want to give that opportunity. But if it is indeed the case that, majority of the Kenyans feel very strongly that we need to amend some aspects of the constitution, for me, my view would be that has to be a very informed decision, backed by data, backed by research. I like what, I think it was Mweru who talked about, I agreed with some of the things that she said. She talked about, the numbers, doing the computations. Like, let's run the numbers. Let us see, why do we want to, for example, I don't know, reduce the number of representatives that we have? It has to be a very informed decision, such that threshold for amending the constitution is a very high threshold. Not everybody can wake up and collect signatures and decide, I have signatures and therefore we need to amend the constitution. So for me, I feel like let's implement it fast. Yes, it might not be perfect. It might not be, what all the Kenyans want. But at least can we implement it fast as is and then talk about amending it once it has already been operational? Because right now it feels like we're implementing it in piecemeal, actually. So I'm very optimistic also because now it's like we're having this awakening. People are becoming more invested in civic education. People are reading the constitution. Even just in this conversation, you're hearing people quoting articles and sub-articles, which is a really good thing. So let's give it a chance. Let's give the constitution a chance to be implemented because even people are becoming more aware. People are downloading the constitution. In fact, the easiest way to access the constitution, just go to kenyalaw.org when it's not down, because it tends to be down a lot, and you can find all the acts of parliament, but the constitution as well. Let me also talk about the issue about women reps, because that's also another thing that Wanyama pointed out. I had commented in the comments. I think it's very dangerous to talk about eliminating that position. Granted, I understand where that sentiment is coming from, but there is a reason why that position was created, and it is in the Constitution. First of all, there's a two-third gender rule, which we ought not to forget. And we also have, it's actually expressly set out in the Constitution under Article 97. In the Constitution of Parliament, the women rep position is actually expressly set out, and for various reasons. Historical injustices, because women tend to be marginalized when it comes to things like politics. You want to have a diverse view. You want to have, when representatives are representing Kenyans at large at Parliament, you want to have women also who have voices, who are there. You also want to, I think Kenya is also signatory to certain international statutes and laws where, as part of being, a member to those regimes, you need to comply with women representatives or women positions or supporting women and elevating the position of women in society. So there are many reasons why that position is important. I think what we need to be talking about instead is how to hold those women responsible or accountable. And perhaps, in fact, I think maybe let this even be a separate space, because this sentiment about women reps, what do they really do? How can we hold them accountable? Are they just there as flower girls? Like, it keeps coming up all the time. People keep, because it's a very emotional discussion, we are feeling like our taxpayers' money is being misused, then automatically people come to the conclusion that let us abolish that position, and that should not be the case. I think that should be a separate discussion. We need to look at the objectives why, but most importantly, to brainstorm and to figure out what should their role be. Should we give them a job description such that in my constituency, I can say this women rep is supposed to do 1, 2, 3, and they are not. I think that is what, or where the conversation should be revolving around. But we should hold them to a high standard, the same way we hold male leaders. So it's not, I feel like it's unfair to just say, the women rep position is there for nothing. It's useless. No, they're all leaders. The same way we want women representatives to be held to a higher accountable standards, the same way we should hold the men as well. Finally, this is actually to KOT Sonko. I like the fact that you're talking about Article 1 and Article 37. Those are the articles for you that you are living by right now. But I want to add one more for you. I think that should be Article 2. Article 2 of the Constitution talks about supremacy of this Constitution. Everybody should remember, this Constitution is the supreme law of this land. It is the highest law of this land, higher than any other act, any other law. In fact, Article 2 even goes further to say that where any law, including customary law, that is inconsistent with this Constitution, it is void to the extent of the inconsistency.
Article 2 chapter.
This is Article 2, sub-Article 4. Right? So it says any law, including customary law, which is inconsistent with this Constitution is void to the extent of the inconsistency, and any act or omission in contravention of this Constitution is invalid. So you need to remember that. So even right now, as there's so much confusion about should a presidential candidate be 35 years old or not, and there's been the suggestion that perhaps it is set out in an act of parliament. Even if that is the case, the fact is, what does the Constitution say? The Constitution is the overriding legal piece of law that we have. That is what you should always remember. It is supreme. It is the supreme law of the land. That is why you hear finance bill has been made inconstitutional.
Ashton,
Yes.
My Constitution, chapter 1, article 2, it talks about something different. It says the people may exercise the sovereign power either directly or through their democratic elected representatives.
So you're
maybe
looking
you
at
enlighten. Yes?
Yes, you're looking at a wrong provision. So what you're reading is Article 1, sub-Article 2. So I am talking about Article 2, which is the next one. So Article 1 talks about sovereignty of the people.
Yes,
After
Article
that,
1, it talks about sovereignty of the people, which belong, all the sovereignty powers belong to the people. Then
yes.
2, according to what I'm having, it says the people may exercise their sovereignty power directly. Then
Yes,
3,
so then,
then 3, it says sovereign power under this Constitution is delegated to the following state organs, which shall perform their functions in accordance with this Constitution. And then now we have some articles on Article 3. We have sub-article A, B, and C. Yeah. Unless I don't know how to interpret the Constitution.
No, so keep going. So after that, there is 4.
Okay, 4, it says the sovereign power of the people is exercised at. Yes.
She's right. 4 says any law, including customary law, that is
So
inconsistent with this Constitution is void.
The supremacy of this Constitution, which is now Article 2. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, hizi
Yes,
zingine
so that's
zimekuanga sub-articles. Okay.
Yes.
And I now understand.
Yes.
Thank you for
That's what I'm
correction.
referring to. No, it's okay. We are here to help. So yes, that's how you
Hashtag.
interpret the Constitution. Yes.
Ni wanyama, I am so happy. Peleke hii kijana shule. Asome vizuri kabisa. Thank you so much. Thank you for blessing my night.
No worries. I'm happy to help. And that's why I came up when you requested me to come up to the speaker panel. But yes, that's why I thought it was important to also introduce this new article to everybody also to appreciate that when we talk about the constitution, you also need to remember it is the supreme law of the land. So you can actually find MPs pass laws, but if they are found to be in contravention of the constitution, then they will be declared to be unconstitutional. You can find that people practice certain, cultural practices. For example, FGM, for example, child marriages. The moment they are found to be, in contravention of the constitution, they will be declared unconstitutional. So that is the point. That is the premise that you should always remember. This text remains to be supreme. And that's why right now we are saying, like, you should be reading your Katiba the way you read your Bible or your Quran. So that's all from me. I think I just wanted to encourage us and also to remind us that it doesn't matter what any other act of parliament says, as long as you're reading the constitution. That is in relation to the question of the age of the president. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Hashtag police.
Hashtag. Oh, sorry, Binti, go ahead first.
No, endelea tu.
Okay, hashtag, I wanted to ask something. I've heard you talk about the suggestions that people have come, have been saying, the one for scrapping off the women rep seat. There was also another one. I think personally I've been for scrapping off of these nominated MPs, because I think nominated MPs don't represent any member of the public. They specifically represent their political parties and their political masters. Because do they represent anyone? And on women rep seat, I won't comment about that.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you in relation to the nominated MPs, because quite honestly, they just go to parliament to represent the interests of the party. And you'll find those nominated MPs would technically say they cannot say anything against what the party policy is. So where it comes to elected representatives, that's where I'm more adamant about, because elected representatives literally are elected by the people. But where it comes, we're talking about nominated people who are just there to serve political party interests. I see why not. Why not review that policy? Why not review that those provisions?
Okay. In the now I said I won't comment about this, but okay, let me just do it. In this same constitution, the parliament, there is no specific seat for women rep, unless I've not come across it. But again, you've said the problem is not the seat. The problem is if we want to hold them accountable, we can hold them all accountable, all the elected members, just like we've been doing with the presidency and everyone else. Is the seat, are the women reps in parliament to represent specifically women of the counties, or they are also leaders to represent everyone else? Do they get bursaries like the members of parliament? And if they get the bursaries, the CDF funds, do these CDF funds go to help the girl child in the schools, or they issue them to everyone, even the male child?
Okay. Let me start by just pointing you to the relevant provision first before I comment on what you said. So this is Article 97. Article 97, sub-article 1B. So 97.1 talks about the National Assembly consists of, then we talk about B, so 47 women, each elected by the registered voters of the counties, each county constituting a single member constituency. So it's actually provided for in the Constitution that they are elected members of the National Assembly. As relates their role, to be honest, I need to look more into that, whether they actually do get bursaries, whether they actually have, budgets to perform their mandate. And that's why I think my suggestion is to you guys, the co-host and the host, please maybe put out a session for us to actually go into this issue about women reps and what they're supposed to be doing. I don't know how it works on the ground, but what I know is they are elected members of parliament pursuant to the constitution. It is there. So abolishing that position means going through a referendum to amend the constitution.
Thank you. I actually just saw that it is provided in the constitution. The second one, you've given me a right answer again. Maybe we should organize another space for this so that you, the legal practitioners, could go deep into it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, #police and Karina, for your questions. I was going to allow Kenyan Voice and Kawino to just have your discussion. Kenyan Voice and Kawino, can you hear each other now?
Yeah, I can speak if he can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so I think ulikuwa umeuliza kama if Okuro Accord said this thing is not good, is not
Yes,
perfect.
actually, I said he did not say it's not good. He just said there are a lot of things that if he could do again, if he could do this thing again, he would have done it differently.
Yeah.
That there are things that they probably did them so fast without thinking about the repercussions later. Because at a amendment of the constitution, if we have to do the amendment of this constitution, signatures will be collected, zitapelekwa IBC kisha verify, itapelekwa kwa zitapelekwa kwa county assemblies, zikishapelekwa kwa county assemblies watavote, which they can even vote it down. If they happen to approve it, itapelekwa kwa National Assembly and Senate na parliament ikiapprove, itakuwa forwarded to the president ndio assign. You see that process alone inakuonyesha pekee the parliament iko protected in a way that hao ndio wanaweza amend the constitution. Sisi tunaweza collect the signatures, yes, but it has to go through them.
Okay. Yeah, so I sort of agree that there's no constitution that is perfect. Even ukiangalia, and that's why on our constitution there is an article for amendments and the process of amending the constitution, because the constitution, obviously, it's the supreme law of the land, and you can say that it is a collective conscience of the people. That's how we exercise our collective conscience. But then again, if we want to change something, then we have the right to change it, and that's why there is a provision for amending the constitution. But I think the important thing is to figure out. Remember, guys, that it took 15 years to come up with a constitution. Kulikuwa na so many congregations of so many people, thousands of people, which Okuro Court was one of them, right? So even as he says, he's one of the people. So even as he says that he feels that there are some things that are not working well and we can change them, yes, we can change them in the manner that is provided within the constitution. But maneno ya kuenda kukaa kwa backrooms, the way they were doing the BBI thing, that is what we need to be careful with. Otherwise, they'll insert things that we don't want and force us to pick something. And I mean, we know the problem in Kenya actually is not the constitution. Might have some problems, obviously, yes, some things that we don't like, but for most part, our problem is governance. The president flouts the constitution. Parliament flouts the constitution. They write laws that are not consistent with the constitution. So it's not about the constitution. I think that the main problem is just governance, and just as a people, I think just we don't have integrity, and we have not, or even if we had it, we have not shown or exercised integrity. And then just let me reiterate one thing that I said before, because this is the one thing that is very popular with many people, is that we have a bloated government. We had 3,500 councillors. We had about 175 local authorities before. We had all these local authorities had chairpersons and mayors. Now we have 47 governors, and we have about 2,200 MCAs. 2,200 MCAs compared to what we used to have, 3,500 councillors. The problem, again, is not representation, in my humble opinion. It is just we are paying these people much more money than we should pay them. Thank you. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did.
Binti, can I? May
Yeah,
I?
yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is Wanyama. So I wanted to also chime in and just an additional point to this is, I think as Kenyans we need to get to the point where we accept or try and normalize that the Constitution of Kenya is a living document. It's not a cast on stone. I think that's an important part for us to start embracing. Like the creators of the 2010 Constitution, however much goodwill they had, retrospection, all those kind of things, it's not a pitch perfect kind of documentation like the Torah, the Moses Torah, that God gave, let it be done as well. The 2010 Constitution, it's something we can change when it's not serving purpose, or as well it's something that at some point maybe representation at this point it might be working. Maybe when they were creating the 2010 Constitution, they, based on hindsight, they were trying to solve the problems of the past. If we get to a time T and we realize that, oh, maybe the term limits are not proper, things like those. I know the term limits are a problem and topic not to dive deep into it, especially now in Kenya. But my point is, let us start treating the Constitution as a living document that is supposed to sort the current needs and the immediate future, or as well the long-term needs that we have. If we work from that perspective, then we will go and start embracing things like devolution in its full capacity. Because there's also the part of law that county assemblies are mandated to do. So we should not just look at the nationalistic kind of thing, because as Kenyans we like focusing on what parliament can do. It's a bicameral parliament, yes, it has its duties, etc., etc. But the other important part, which is the last mile part, I would like to call it the last mile part of the constitution, is things like, what is our county government doing? The county assemblies, I mean, they have kind of a mirror kind of duty with what is it called, the national parliament. On that light, several things needs to be highlighted, because the constitution is, we have one of the best constitutions in the country, I mean in the continent. Things like sovereignty of the people, as hashtag has mentioned. Things like it's a no state religion. Things like leadership and integrity, devolution, rights and freedoms, military deployment, like it's properly documented on how we should do it. There's gender equality and representation, which I like the part of hashtag saying, like, you know what, yes, we might agree that the women represented, representation through the women representative role at the moment is not serving the purposes, but we might be curing one side and creating a problem in the other. So the other side is the two-thirds gender role, because we have to uplift that position of women continuously in representation. So once you cure one side, let us also be careful about the other. But the most important part, that it was a gift from the 2010 Constitution, I think it's judicial independence. And you've seen consistent, as much as they have not been delivering 100%, is judicial independence in Kenya is one of the best gifts that that constitution gave us. So ndio maana most of the Kenyans siku hizi wanaweza ringa waseme twende koti, kama tusikizani twende koti. It's that faith in the court system. So tusisahau hiyo. And lastly, the last part that is a cure for us, and we should push these ones to deliver ethics and anti-corruption. The law is very clear on all these things about ethics and anti-corruption. These last mile people are the ones who are not delivering on it. So as we progress with the conversation, that's what I wanted to highlight. Acha nirudi kwa kokoni yangu.
Asante sana Wanyama. And speaking about women representation, host and co-host, you can't put me here and then I just leave my girls hanging down there. So I'm going to skip the queue and I'm going to give one lady a chance. And I'm sorry to keep you guys waiting, but itabidi ngoja just 1 second. Josephine, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Thank you.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. I think this topic is it has just come at the ideal time, and personally, I want to say that, as we are saying, I can confirm that just a mere citizen and mere Kenyan, I am one of the beneficiaries of the 2010 Constitution So I can say it is doing us good when it comes to the area of judiciary. That one I can acknowledge, and I can really say that those days when you used to be told in court, you must have something for you to get justice. Actually, they are almost ending. They are no longer there. I can certify that. That one with the judiciary, I really give them echo, and also appreciate that they have also introduced the system of mediation, and it's also working. It's very good, and it's a win-win for anyone who goes for mediation as well. Fine. Now, if I were told to do an amendment to the Kenyan Constitution, or which areas would I want to see them changed and fit to the Kenyans so that it will be also an ideal for every Kenyan to enjoy the Constitution, first and foremost, I'll say that we need to amend laws, the clauses which allow the members of parliament to be appointed and reappointed for a particular office. Like you are a member of parliament, you have been elected by the people, and then you are appointed to a CS office. We need to amend that. The other area we need to amend is the recycling of leaders. We are having right now people the likes of Alfred Mutua, the likes of Hassan Joe, the likes of Aparanya. Actually, they are getting their pension right now as we are talking, but they have been appointed to continue serving, regardless of whether they are unpensionable or not. And these are some of the things that we need to amend. If we don't amend these things in that constitution, the truth is that we will ever grow old without getting to that office, because they will still continue electing each other. And remember, when election time comes, when campaign times comes, these people come with their money, wanapikia watu pilau na maji ya maiti, wanapatia watu pilau, watu wanachanganyikiwa hawajielewi, and the people do what they do not want to do. So if we can only seek refuge in our constitution, and we amend so that nobody, if you feel that you are patriotic enough and you've been a governor, maybe, and your profession was a doctor, after your 10 years of service consecutively, while you are in pension, because you are patriotic, just go and sacrifice your services as per your profession, or you go and do your business and then leave the offices alone for other people to ascend in those offices. That is an area that I would want us as Kenyans to think, and as young Kenyans, if we intend to rule this country and to lead this country, actually also we will be in a position to get opportunities also to lead. Other thing, with that area, we will also eradicate corruption and impunity. Because right now, as long as I am in the top seat there in the government, my people know that no matter what they do, they are hiding under my umbrella, and they can do anything and nobody can move them, because even in the next election, I am sure I will be there, and I will be there protecting impunity and the corruption. So guys, with this amendment, we will realize that we will be having a very short time whereby we can monitor Josephine ascended into that office as a governor with our net worth was this. What is our net worth now? And if I've gone overboard more than what I can do and I cannot account for that money, it's supposed to be retrieved, that money, and taken back to the government. But this can only be applicable if there is an act of the constitution which allows us to do that. We will not be discriminating anybody, but we will be giving a chance to other people to rule the country, and also to minimize the issues of impunity and corruption in our country. So anybody who will be ascending into those offices will work their Kenyans interested to work for Kenyans. The other area I would want to see it amended so that it can fit us is to ensure that also the people who are in the offices and they have been ruling with the same governor, maybe for 2 years, for 10 years or so, they should not continue remaining in that office, because these people now, for 10 years, what you have not done, you cannot do even if you are added another year. So you cannot think, you are only there to cause impunity and to cause jam. Uingii ndani na utoki nje, uko pale kuangaisha wananchi na kufanya watu wajisikie intimidated. kindly, fellow Kenyans, can we stand firm and amend these areas whereby we will ensure that these things are no longer there? Also, we can the area of the counties and the nominations of the people who are being nominated in the parliament. Honestly, if we can have 47 men and 47 women from the parliament, that's a good number. And we have struck the balance. We don't need much more people. And these are some of the things we need to consider as we move forward on how best we can achieve this and articulate this. I am sure Kenya will be the best place for us to be. It's the best place, and it will be more actually like a paradise when we are living in this world. So let's keep praying and working hard. The other thing, let every one of us start also self-searching, because actually corruption is bad when it's done by KOT, but when I'm doing it, I just baptize it and I assume it's good. It's also good when it's done by me, bad when it's done by me, but KOT, when it gets there, that's the baptism of it. Can we also advocate and give civil education? Every one of us in this country, we have fallen that grace of actually avoiding corruption. We are falling in these traps of corruption so many times, and we keep on baptizing them. Kindly, fellow Kenyans, can we start also knowing that the moment you are not doing the right thing at the right time, you are a reason as to why this country is going down. You are the reason as to why our economy is not growing. You are the person sabotaging that economy. When I am doing what I'm supposed to do and I'm not doing it, I keep somebody waiting for more than 1 hour when he was supposed to be attended for 30 minutes. It's me sabotaging the economy of this country. Can we sensitize each other? Can we make each other? Can we move the education that we have pass in degrees, diplomas, certificates, PhDs, and the like, and then bring it to reality and start applying it on ourselves, so that we have a better Kenya, whereby everyone will be happy about it, and we shall say for sure we have attained a great country where everybody is patriotic. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. I really appreciate. Fellow Kenyans, thank you so much for listening to me. I believe once we join hands together, we shall make it, and we shall make our country a better place to be. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Josephine, for your submission. I'd just like to point out that somebody mentioned earlier, if we now start amending this constitution, it's going to open the door for the government to now start putting in their own ideas, like their own ideology. So it's better to just try and like figure what we have of like as of now. And if it's not working, then sure, after that we can now try and figure it out. Because like I said, Daddy, you can't just, your car isn't moving, you decide to go and start changing the tires. No, just take the handbrake off and it will start rolling. It will be okay. So yeah, I can see Uhuru, your hand has been up for a very long time. Sorry for the wait. I can see we have some advocates for the High Court of Kenya. So sorry guys, just be patient with me. I will come back to you. Let's just take 3 minutes each if that's okay. And yes, so Uhuru, Kenya, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. I have a few observations to make. I have not joined these for many times, but I pass through. I see KOT every time online. I have heard people say that the constitution needs to be amended to serve us better. I was involved in the civic education of 2010. I was a teenager then, but an enthusiast of this constitution. Back in the day, the constitution was very good, and the laws that were made in 2013. As members have been speaking around, I've been trying to check what has changed since then. And I feel if we can reverse where the subsidiary laws that were made to entrench the constitution were watered down, we could achieve a lot. For example, back in the day, when after the new constitution, the first IG of the police, because I feel our approach should be strengthen the human rights so that we have a voice and a ground to stand. Then we strengthen the enforcement of the law and the constitution so that we have a recourse, and then we go punishing those who violate. Those 3 steps, if we can achieve them, will be far much ahead. So let me pick an office that is very important once allowing rights to be exercised. The office of the IG. The first appointment around 2013 when the law was made. The president was supposed to receive a single name to nominate from the National Police Service Commission. When Uhuru and Ruto came on board, they changed the law to receiving 3 names, and then later to even them nominating and taking to parliament for vetting. Now, the problem with that is that the police department is never independent. It will act at the whims. So that time, the IG had the security of tenure. Today, it doesn't have. So if we could revert to that, because I was trying to check when did it change, the law changed around 2014. It's around, I think, section 12. I'm not a lawyer, but section 12 of the National Police Act that mandated the NPSC to competitively advertise, shortlist, interview, and recruit the IG. The 2014 Security Laws Amendment altered this process, giving the president sole authority to nominate the IG. This now is where now it has come, police killing, police getting instructions that are not right. If we could reverse this law, if we can check where the law has been altered down, like this section, we revert it to what it was, where the president is not involved in nominating the IG, and he gets only 1 name after competitive interviews, then we could have strengthened that. I'm also trying to remember what are changed in terms of, because now if the police is working well, the next part that we need to strengthen is the subsidiary law, Cap 183, the Public Officer Ethics Act. This is where politicians and the public servants misuse the law to either do things that are wrong, to steal, to corrupt, to do what. If we can, this one, the importance of why we should strengthen this law is because the person who goes into the office, if you take a crook, you can't change him. He will go there and you are done. Because now you fight for survival. Now, if you make sure the person who enters the office is the right person, then you have an easy time even telling him to follow the law. Now, once we enforce this law, then things around, back in the day, the subsidiary laws that were made in 2013 were saying that a politician could not be nominated into an office. Then a question became, is it active politician or one who is not active? Is it one who has ever gone to politics or one who is currently in politics? That is now where they reverted the law that provided you are not in the office now, you can go anywhere. Now, we have seen the wrong thing with the politicians being also in other offices. We need also to check those laws that they changed, and we strengthened the Public Officer Ethics Act by reverting the qualifications of public officers. If we could do that one, we could also go a lot in the way. Now, there are also some other areas about having the opposition being strong and separate. We could also look at that. But now, when we bring the issue of changing the constitution, our constitution has not been implemented and failed. Those who are talking about the cost, the truth is, a poor man relatively pays more than a rich man. The marginal utility of money to a rich person is lower than to a poor person. So, what we are paying our officers relative to our income is obviously is high. But now, is the question the pay? Because I believe if a third of our budget is stolen and is stashed abroad, if people can receive the salaries that they receive today, but nothing is stolen, we could be doing well. So what is wrong? Is it the constitution? No. Implementation. So if we can check areas and the Uhuru government watered the constitution properly, Ruto is continuing to water it down. If we can revert the 40 settings to 2013, all the laws that were made, where the Chief Justice used to come from the civil society and outside of the judiciary, we could achieve a lot. Now, people have talked about the women reps and what. With the benefit of history, back in the day, there was a lot of agitation around the space of women in society, and it was seen that they are put low. So the greatest achievement of the women representation is not what they do. Let us be clear about that. We can say they do nothing, but there is one thing they do. They act as a role model to a young girl child who is in school and aspiring to be anything politically. They are there to be seen. Well, when the girl sees that lady speaking on her TV, she mirrors herself. That is the greatest thing they have achieved. not development, not nothing. Because again, I think they started receiving 100 million some 3-4 years ago. They were not receiving anything before. So I do not feel that those positions should be abolished. However, all positions that were created as equalizing opportunities, some of them were capped at 20 years for the money. The money bet like equalization fund for the counties that were behind was capped up to 20 years. After 20 years, it was never supposed to exist. But now we have never given counties that money. That means if we have to cap it at 20 years, we have. Pardon?
Please land, please land.
Okay, so if we have to cap the equalization fund at 20 years, we need to start now giving them today and they start counting that money today. Now, so for me, what I feel, one, for us to exercise our right to demonstrate and to demand accountability, because we are being stiffened every time we talk about accountability. The young people who are aspiring to shape this Kenya should demand that a police department should be independent from the executive by having security of 10 of the IG, the appointment process that's outside the president, then all laws that cause unemployment or an entry into the office, they must be strictly adhering to Chapter 6 of the Constitution, including elective offices. And then corruption, because police, the people going to the office, and what they do is our problem. Corruption should be capital offense. We should also strengthen the law. Of course, there is an argument of human rights and my rights, whether you are a crowd or whether you are one. Sometimes the interests of the nation are greater than our individual interests. So for me, I feel we should not target the Constitution. We will be doing a great disadvantage to ourselves. Let us check, for example, in the last 10 years, if we can get a lawyer to analyze for us what are changed, because those laws were good. I can testify they were good. But where we are today is a completely different story. So if we can analyze what was reversed by the 2 terms of Uhuru government, when Ruto was our president, we reversed them to 2013. Then this constitution will be the finest. The finest. Chapter 6, if it is followed, we'll have the right guys. That's my take. I'll be able to participate more in other discussions going forward. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Okay. So Binti,
Thank you.
this is Wanyama.
Sama.
I want us to stop second guessing and just ask the people that were there when the 2010 constitutions was coming up. Most of us are either Gen Zs or young millennials. So most of the things we are seeing are based on what we are reading, research, and people who went to school. So Senator Okiya Mtata, if you're able to come here and get questions, give your commentary on what happened 14 years ago, together with the Kuru Okot and the rest. Let me send you the mic so that you join the speaker panel. If you can be able to, before we wrap up the space as we continue the discussion. Back to you as we wait for Okiya to come up and do some justice.
Wanyama, can I pose a question to both Ndegwa Njiru and Umtata once they're here?
Yeah, you should be able to, but that's dependent on Binti Africa, the co-host.
Yes, of course you can. Hey, it's not my space, people. Come on now. Anyway, so then I'll just let you stay there for now, Farah. I'll go to Frederick. You've been here for a very long time, and Real Joe, and then Gloria. Oh, actually, never mind. Hold on. Pause a second. Honorable Okiya Mtata, are you able to speak to us currently? Honorable Okiya Mtata, can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Yes, I can. Are you able to please speak to us about the Constitution, please? And as of tomorrow, because tomorrow is Katiba Day.
Well, I think that what needs to be done is we must fully implement the Constitution before we think of amending it. Otherwise, we shall just be doing what is not logical. We have hardly implemented this Constitution. There's been resistance to implementing the Constitution, right from the elections, be it the Bill of Rights, be it the questions of integrity. Hardly anything has been implemented. And so I'm surprised that people are talking about amending it. I don't think it's time to begin to talk about amending it. Let us implement and then see how it works. But when we begin doing small bits and pieces here, it can't work for us. So I think on Katiba Day, we should demand that the constitution be implemented as it is, and then we see what shortfalls are there. As regards the various legislations that have been said, the best way just to keep on challenging these legislations. The one on the police, I'm doing a petition now to challenge it, and I hope to file my petition before the end of the week to challenge the amendment that were brought in place in 2014 that now basically took away the security of tenure of the IG, and then also allows the president to handpick the IG. See if we can get back to situation whereby the office is independent. And we also look at the question of the treasury. This idea that the treasury should be part of the national executive is totally against the spirit of devolution, and it also undermines Article 251, Clause 1. And so there's need to see how we can delink the treasury and put it under the control of a professional body like the way the central bank is controlled, so that politicians don't just mess around. Can you imagine if the central bank was run by political entities on the hill? It would really be a mess. We also need to make sure that we do elections as the way it is done is stated in the constitution. And this is the requirement that elections should terminate at the county, at the constituency. I know there have been pontifications from the Supreme Court on the issue, especially, but they were basing it on they were reading the constitution alongside the Elections Act, the section that creates the returning officer, the presidential returning officer, so that we have got this bombers thing, and then a situation whereby it's totally impossible to call Kenyan elections. So I personally think that there's quite a bit we can do to make sure that this constitution, we breathe life into our constitution, and then after that, we can say what needs changing. Otherwise, if we go out and begin saying we are changing this thing, as somebody has said, we shall just be opening the floodgates for self-seekers. And they come in all manner and shades and shapes. Then we shall end up with something we shall not even understand. And of course, the first target will be the term limits for the president will basically disappear. And there will be left with a ruler who can be in power forever until he dies. That's all I can say for now. But today I had really come in to listen, not to speak.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we have somebody that requested to ask you a question. Would you be okay with that? And
Yeah.
also for Advocate Guru.
Yes, that's the
Okay,
question.
so far if you have a question, then yes, please.
Thank you, Binti. Am I audible?
Yes,
Thank
100%.
you.
Go ahead.
My question is, I would like to raise awareness on something that most of us overlook, which is our broken immigration system, and what does our laws say about it? Because we have so many illegals in this country taking up the low earners jobs, such as mechanics, even hawkers, house helps. You have house helps from Uganda. You have vinyozi from Burundi and Congo, all these other places. Why is our country getting to a point whereby we are no longer the owners of the country, but we live as though we are tenants in our own country? Thank you.
Oh, that's the question.
Yes, my question was,
Yes.
what can we do about our failed immigration system, and what does the law say about it?
Well, I don't know how to put it, but some of these dynamics are that we are part of this community. That there was an attempt to ring fence the low-level jobs. There's some bill in Parliament. I don't know how far it has gone. An attempt to ring fence certain cadres of jobs for locals. But I think for me, it would be the wrong way to go that the local should be ring-fenced for small jobs. I would rather that we get to a point where Kenyans can also choose the jobs they want to do. We just have to manage this country well. We just have to industrialize this country. There's no reason why Kenya can't industrialize. The amount of money being wasted is just mind-boggling. There's no reason why Kenya cannot industrialize. So for me, immigration may be a law and order issue. But then again, in a situation whereby we are working towards Pan-Africanism, I don't know how that works. But in terms of giving Kenyans jobs that can give them a good life, that one I think no outsider is taking away those jobs. We are just not creating jobs. We are just not building factories. We are not industrializing. We are not capitalizing on our comparative advantage. We are not doing value addition to our raw materials. So I would really not look at those people as the problem. I would look at leadership. A leadership that has no vision, is not transformative. A leadership whereby there's no accountability, impunity is the order of the day. And so whereby even the constitution just becomes a pile of paper and people walk around scot-free. I would really say we need to begin saying, how do we move Kenya's GDP, even if we fired and chased out all these foreigners, we call foreigners, these fellow Africans, if we chase them out, it will not raise our per capita income from where the $2,000 it is, 2,000 a few hundreds, to 30,000. I want to see an agenda that says today Kenya is at $2,000 per capita. In the next 10 years, we should be doing $10,000 per capita. The next another 10 years, we're doing $20,000 per capita. And the roadmap is this. I want to see something scientific. I want to see somebody think along those lines and say, how do we make these people rich? And the challenge of leadership is one. How do you convert the human resource and the natural resource into wealth? That's the question we must be asking ourselves. Any other thing will not solve our problems. We are not using our brains. Look at KICC. Look at the standards of KICC. One of my pastimes that when I'm in KICC is to look for cracks. This thing was done in the 60s. I was in standard 3 when they were collecting 30 cents. And I remember I paid 30 cents for the building of that building. When we would go to school, we paid 30 cents. I paid. They did a good job. Go today to Bunke Tower. How come such a shoddy job can be done so many years down the line, about 50 years later? Such a shoddy job. How can it be? Why have we gone? Why have we lowered our standards so much? How would Kenya be looking like if we had maintained the standards that helped us put up the KICC? Look at the Kenyatta National Hospital. If we had maintained those standards, what would this country be looking at? This idea that we have become idiots is what we must fight. This idea that you can have a whole department like Kenya Roads Board, Kenya Rural Roads Authority, Kenya Urban Roads Authority, Kenya National Highways Authority, doing nothing but processing tenders. Our engineers have become clerks, doing clerical work. And then roads are inflated. I'm telling you, this country, we must look at the real problem is the question of leadership and a visionary leader. We don't even need, right now we are beyond just a managerial leader. We need a visionary, transformative leader who will spare nothing to make this country move forward. And when you move forward, you'll find that these small jobs and whatever, people from outside will come and take them. I remember when I was growing up in Busia, when we were small boys, most of the people used to have cattle used to come from Rwanda and whatever. They used to be called Abalalo. They used to come and they would be the herdsmen and whatever. So these jobs have always gone. There are people used not to do those jobs. Today we are doing them ourselves and we are competing with these people. Why? So we must take this country back. We must move this country forward. We must discuss our per capita income. How can you survive on $2,000 a year? Those are the well-to-do ones. How? We must not be comfortable with those kind of facts. We must raise our GDP. We must ensure that our per capita income is at least $30,000. That's the question we must be cracking our minds with. And we must look at our budget. What is it designed to achieve? It's only policy document. It's only policy document a government has that matters. So when we have our budget, what is it designed to achieve? When we have got zero allocation to research and development, what are we planning to do with this country we call Kenya? These are the questions we shall now begin engaging with, even beyond discussing corruption. Assuming the budget is used properly, the way it is today, is it a transformative budget? Or is it, what are you going to achieve? So those are the kind of questions we should engage ourselves. And I would invite my brother was just asking me this question. We begin looking in those directions and stop creating an enemy whose impact or whose relevance is not there in the moment. And so that's how, for me, I would look at it and move forward from there. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Thank you. And you've just made me realize I was thinking in the wrong direction, because Somaliland, which is an unrecognized country, gains almost 7 billion shillings annually through goat and sheep export, which means their leadership is looking at their natural resources to benefit the people. So thank you, Mr. Senator.
Yes, and I want to tell you right now on my desk, I have an under the table silent petition from the Ministry of Fisheries. They are telling me tuna, the Indian Ocean, is barren in terms of tuna, it's barren, except for the East African coast. And the epicenter of fish is in Kenya. A bit of it in Somalia, a bit down in Tanzania and Madagascar, but the epicenter is in Kenya. But the Kenyan authorities have refused to allow that facility to be developed. Why? Because they get kickback from Australia, they get kickbacks from India, they get kickback from Singapore, they get kickback from the Chinese and the Europeans. And so they're comfortable getting these trinkets and allowing this resource to go. And these people these guys were showing me data from the World Bank. Unfortunately, nowadays you get data, showing me data from the World Bank that it's about a 10 trillion shilling economy that is just lying there that we have left outsiders to play around with. That's the kind of things they're making. So I think if we looked at our resources, our comparative advantages, you have talked of livestock, look at our arid and semi-arid areas. What have we invested in them to make us be big cattle producers like the Ethiopians, like the others? We have not. We're just leaving people to struggle. The Maasai man with his walking stick, the Samburu man with his walking stick, the Somali man with his walking stick, the Borana man with his walking stick, they're just walking around. No support from government to invest in this area, even in terms of infrastructure, to make this thing to become our golden goose that lays the golden egg. But there we are. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you very much, Honorable. Thank you. Sorry. Do you mind if we just go to Advocate Njiru? I think the question was also directed to you. I don't know if you have any sentiments for that.
Thank you very much, KOT, Honorable Okiya Omtata, and fellow participants. I've been keenly following this debate and this discussion. And I love the topic of the 14 years of the new constitution. And the question then, therefore, is whether we have been able to yield the expected results or the intended results from this constitution. While I fully associate myself with the submissions made by my friend, Mr. Okiya Omtata, Senator, I also understand
the feelings and the sentiments being aired that the high time that we amend the constitution. We must ask ourselves, why are people then agitating for the change of a new constitution that is barely 14 years? In my view, we have one of the best progressive constitution in this world, and that the progressive constitution must be given an opportunity for it to crystallize and stabilize. But the fatigue is coming from the fact that we have not implemented this document. We have not put it to test. So the constitutional fatigue that is inviting members to think that is now high time for us to amend this document is being attributed and being contributed by the fact that individuals do not want to implement it. If this constitution was to be implemented as designed, much of what we are seeing today would be historical, would be a thing of the past. But the politicians have deliberately mutilated the constitutional root. They have made it difficult for us to realize the constitutional dictates because they eat from those faults. They feed from the constitutional failures. They thrive from the mutilation and the abrogation of the constitution. And that is why we must be candid enough to tell them that this is not the time to think about the amendment. It's the time to think about the realization of the constitution. The biggest thing that this country has refused to move on is to cultivate the spirit of constitutionalism. The spirit of constitutionalism is the respect of the constitution itself. And without constitutionalism, we cannot then speak about the life of a constitution. People will always mutilate it, abrogate it, suspend it, because they have not cultivated and inculcated the realities of the new constitution and cultivated the spirit of constitutionalism. Professor Kodo Gendo was very vocal. He said a constitution that has no constitutionalism is a dead constitution. And when I speak about constitutionalism, what am I speaking about? I am speaking about paying fidelity to the constitution, respecting the rule of law, making sure that the constitution is always the cardinal point. And then when you want to look at the true north, the reflector is the constitution. For example, let us look at the individuals being elected. Do those individuals meet the dictates of chapter 6 of the constitution? And was it the intention of the Kenyans when they gave unto themselves this document that people of questionable character would then be the ones telling us how, or rather governing us? When you go and throw in a president who never defended this constitution and who actually opposed that constitution, and I do not dispute that somebody can get a Damascus moment, what do you expect if he never believed in the life of that constitution? Do you think he can live to the dictates of that particular constitution? This constitution brought forth various institutions. The reason why we created these institutions is because we wanted to diffuse power from the centralization of power. We created various institutions. We created various constitutional commissions. But the question is, have we been able to realize the fruits of those constitutional commissions? My guess is as good as yours, that the answer is in negative, that we have not been able to realize the fruits of the constitutional commission that we have created and constitutional organs that we have created, because we always have an underhand in it. When we created constitutional commissions and other institutions Mr. Kio Tata was speaking about, for example, the control of budget, for example, the Salary and Remuneration Commission, is because we wanted to go away and leave the past where constitutional arbitrariness was perpetuated by the leaders. But you realize that we just go around it and get back ourselves to it again. Look at the institution of parliament. When we said we are going to create a presidential system, we wanted to delink parliament from the executive. And the thing was that we thought that we would have some independence of parliament and some parliamentary autonomy if we delink it from the executive. But what is the result? The result is that parliament has been captured by the executive. And they are using political parties and the strength of political parties to capture parliament. For example, the constitution speaks about the majority and the minority in parliament. The unfortunate thing with the oxymorons that we elect into parliament is they think that if a political party forms government and that has the majority in parliament, they think that it's part of government. They fail to realize their core functions of legislation, representation, and oversight. Because if you look at our constitutional architecture, we have created the office of the minority and the office of the majority, but they are fused. They are constitutionally fused by their functions. That whether you're in the minority or you're in the majority, your work is to oversight, is to legislate, is to represent. But what are we seeing currently? We are seeing members of the majority thinking that they are in government and that the executive is in parliament. The end result is that they compromise the process of legislation. The end result is that you see people dictating that the finance bill must pass. So we have a long way to go. Part of it must be invested in serious civic education for people to appreciate the document that we have. And I remember what Sinu Achembe says in his book, The Trouble with Nigeria. He says that the trouble in Nigeria is clearly failure of leadership. And that is the problem we have in this country. That the trouble in Kenya is failure of leadership. We have a leader, or we have the leaders who want to perpetuate constitutional tyranny by mutilating the documents that we hold dear unto ourselves. And then you must realize that we Kenyans, we, the owners of these documents, have failed to realize our potentiality in putting government to check. And we have attempted to do it. When we say that power belongs to the people and they can exercise that sovereignty either directly or indirectly. So you realize that the majority of us do not understand what that exactly means. That we donated power to the executive and to parliament and to other institutions created under the constitution, but we reserved some residual powers to ourselves. One of the residual powers that we reserve to ourselves is the ability for us to move to court and access justice, as Senator Obukia Mtata is doing and others. The other residual power we reserved unto ourselves is the ability for us to participate in policy making, legislative making, and decision making. But what is happening today? Today we're having a president who goes to officiate an NYS pass out, and he declares that the NYS must be trained on how to handle firearms without involving the people, without involving parliament, without invoking the doctrine of the rule of law. So he thinks that he has become Alpha and Omega. And when you ask him, what does he do? He retaliates with the tear gas, water cannons, live bullets, abductions to silence us. And that is the tragedy we have. The moment we succumb, and the moment we give in to the intimidations of the individuals who do not believe in the doctrine of constitutionalism, we shall lose the cardinal north. We lose ourselves. And so we must be vigilant enough to defend this constitution as it is. Look at the question of multi-party democracy. Article 4 of the constitution speaks that Kenya is a multi-party democracy. Why was it so important for us to dictate that Kenya becomes a constitutional multi-party democracy. It's because of what we underwent through Section 2A of the old constitution. When Moi decided that Kenya will be a single-party state, a de jure single-party state. And then we went to the streets, and then we fought, and we came up with a multi-party democracy. So it was there for us to protect it. But what is happening through gerrymandering? Gerrymandering is helping the current existing political leadership to go to parliament, to go to the minority, fish out individuals in the minority party, and take them to cabinet. And we Kenyans sit pretty thinking that is all right. It is not proper. If you are in the minority, you must remain in the minority. Because the moment you go and fish individuals from that particular side, you're completely mutilating the structure of parliament. You're trying to restructure the constitutional appearance of parliament. So, brothers and sisters, we have a long way to go. And for us to be able to realize the fruits of this constitution, we must insist that the test is that of initiating constitutionalism. Constitutionalism speaks about patriotism. It speaks about we loving our country. It speaks about we being there for the country. And for us to be able to move, we must move together as one army with one commander. And the commander is that of the doctrine of constitutionalism. The focus is that of the constitution. So as we celebrate 14 years, we must ask ourselves, is it the high time we press on making sure that we have called for accountability and good governance in this country? Is it the high time we say that we must have the rule of law being the cardinal north? Those are some of the things that we must invite ourselves and that we must vow to believe and live for. So that at the end of the day, we'll have a document that will have some posterity, a document that we can pass over to our future generation, a document that we can promise the future generation that you have a document that you can live with. But when you elect criminals into power, what do you expect? How will the institutions that we have created in this country be able to maneuver if we are the ones participating in electing idiots, electing morons, electing criminals into parliament and leadership? That is the problem that we ourselves have been, we have conferred unto ourselves. Look at how politics is done in this country. Look at how elections and campaigns are done. It's completely a process of reducing voters to vote for you. You use them through corruption and bribery of votes. But what does the law say? We have even gone ahead and created the Election Offences Act. We have said it's wrong for anyone to bribe voters. But you'll see the same president going and saying, we are doing harambe hii kanisa nitajenga mimi mwenyewe. We are seeing people seeking members of parliament and anawaambia pangeni kumi kumi. It is not right. It's not proper. It's not justice. And that is why we must vow to protect this document. We must say that we must live within the four corners of the Constitution. And we start evaluating individuals who have exhibited the conduct of individuals who want to respect and uphold the document. So as I pen off, so that we can invite other members to contribute, when we have a spin doctor in the name of a president who thinks that he can convince people that a particular financing model of the university is the best and that he's the only person who can spin and that he has ignored all other institutions, how can we change? So we must change ourselves. We must begin working towards appreciating and embracing the Constitution if we want this country to change. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for the opportunity to submit on those particular four issues. But my plea is that we should not get fatigued constitutionally. We must press towards implementing the document. Let us not go back to where we were, that we want to amend this constitution, because opening those doors will open the floodgates of those individuals who feel oppressed by the document to mutilate it. Remember, as much as we have not completely implemented the document and achieved the fruits fully, this document has acted as a safeguard, as a safety valve and safeguards. There are many things that would be going wrong had it not been for this document. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I pen off, let us look at this document as a document that has life and a document that is giving guidance to this country and a document that we must jealously guard with our blood. So that at the end of the day, Chinua Achebe, if he was to wake up today, he will not start writing about the trouble in Kenya. He will start thinking about the prosperity that the document contemplated when we enacted it. Thank you very much. I rest my case.
Thank you very much, Advocate Njuru. We had a question here that was aimed at Honorable Okiom Tata, but he's dropped. Would you mind if I just direct it towards you?
Please.
Yes, so this is from #police, and she's asking, do you think it's an anomaly for the budget committee to make proposals and then use the finance bill to meet those budget estimates? Because logically, shouldn't you budget with money that you have already and not money that you're planning to get? And is that the reason why they're trying to push that bill down our throats?
Sorry, may I beg your pardon? I didn't get the first question right.
Okay, so she's asking, so is it an anomaly for the budget committee to make proposals and then use the finance bill to meet those budget estimates? She's asking logically, shouldn't you budget with money that you already have rather than money that you're planning to get? And is that why they're pushing this finance bill down our throats?
Well, I think if I was to attempt to answer that question honestly, I may mislead my listeners because I am not an expert in finance. But I am thinking if I was to guess an answer would be that we consider ourselves as the trading goods in the market, that the country economy is moved by the people, and that is why taxation is always a responsibility of the citizens, and that because the government does not do business, then the budget must be generated from the citizens. But I would rather leave that person to a person who has some expertise in finance, so that person is able to then guide us properly. For me, if it was a legal question, I would sufficiently be able to answer it. But permit me to leave that question to the experts. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much, and thank you for your sentiments as well. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. For now, we have speakers that have been on here waiting to go. I think I said, Frederick, you should go first, and then we'll go to Gloria second. Please take 3 minutes each. We have a lot of requests on the request panel. So yes, Frederick, please go ahead. Frederick Aranja, can you hear me? Oh.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, please go ahead. Please talk to us about the Constitution.
Yeah, mine is to urge the government that they should respect our constitution because this nation is governed by the rule of law. We should let know the executive, legislature, and the judiciary, their mandate is to protect our constitution instead of doing such things that does not promote our constitution. They should know that we as the nation, we are governed by the rule of law, and the president himself should respect our constitution and implement where it is the right thing by accepting us to demonstrate, because it is in Article 1 that should be that no one should refuse for our rights, that we are being protected by our constitution. Yeah, that's all that I have today.
Thank you very much, Frederick, for your sentiments. Short and sweet, though we like to keep it here. Tomorrow is the birthday of our Constitution, guys. I would like to hear more speakers, ladies especially. When you come, I'm going to give you priority because, like I told the host, you can't put me here and then expect not to be biased towards the ladies. So, Gloria, please go ahead. Talk to us.
Okay, should I go?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So first, we are romanticizing the Constitution. A Constitution is not an answer to everything. We can cry about Constitution today, tomorrow. There are so many things in that Constitution that are not being followed. For instance, you have a right to protest, but what is happening when you protest? It's not that the constitution is bad or the constitution does not provide for your rights. It's about the people who are meant to protect the constitution first and foremost and are not doing it. It's about impunity of leaders. It's about, so let's not even dream about, oh, let's do this, let's do the other. And even in the spirit of, I don't know, referendum, changing this and the other, just go and look at the process of having a referendum, whether initiated by the people, I mean, in a, by the populace, it still ends up at the county level. Who are the people, MCAs in the whatever, those houses there, I'm even forgetting what they're called. At the county level, you still end up in parliament, where it's the same people that we want to remove. We want parliament dissolved, then we want to put the question of referendum to them. At the end of the day, let's just overhaul this system. Then all these other things will come. We are chewing, we are biting too much. We cannot be chasing everything. Tomorrow something else we are chasing. The next day we can't be chasing everything. Ours is to remove this Ruto and remove the system, and then we can think about now, what are we changing, what are we doing? Because even when you go to court to complain about some of these issues, yeah, they are rendered unlawful and so on, but then they still don't follow them. They still use the back door to bring back some of them. So our issue is not the constitution. We can write a beautiful constitution as we want. That is not our issue. Is not the constitution. That can never be our problem. So for me, it's a waste of time. And then I would also want to comment on this issue of immigrants. Yes, Okio Mtata handled it very well, but I might say that in these spaces, we must avoid any narrative that seeks to other people. By othering, I mean like you are dehumanizing and looking at others as enemies and so on. So far, your community, if I am to go by your name, has been othered for a very long time, stereotyped and so on. So it's also weird that you'd be the one promoting or even wanting us to go there, because it's not the first time I've heard you. It's not the first space where you've brought up the issue of immigration. I mean, Burundians, Congolese, they're not our problem. Which jobs are we claiming they are taking? Do we even have jobs in Kenyans to begin with? Are there any new jobs created for Kenyans themselves to begin with, for us to start saying other people are taking our jobs, other people? No, those people are not your problem. They are not. Because if you start now with Burundi, tomorrow it will be Luo, Kikuyu, and that is what we don't want. We are saying tribalists. You'll always find somebody to other, somebody to blame. No, that is the work of political leadership that has failed in governance, that has failed to provide for its people what it needs to provide. Then they claim, oh, it's other people who have come, and therefore our health system is being overburdened by foreigners or other people. No. We cannot go there. And you should desist from taking us there, please. So the next thing is the issue of hierarchies. We are against Ruto and against this kind of political leadership, Ruto and his ilks, because of that hierarchy, because of elitism. Then we should also not ourselves then fall into the same faults that we are faulting other people for. So let's treat each other equally. Let's give each other an opportunity so that we have more people speaking up on spaces. Not few people are the ones speaking and for a very long time, please. Let's not do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gloria, for your sentiments. I think we'll move on. Guys, sorry, please, if you have spoken, please just drop down to the listeners panel to give other people a chance. But for now, I will go to the Duke of here. Wait, okay, you know yourself, please, the Duke, and then we'll go to Grace afterwards. Then Mark. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Binti Africa. My name is Misiko, aka the Duke of Kiminini. Kiminini is a constituency in Trans Nzoia County. I want to center on the issue of constitutional change that is being talked about by so many Kenyans. And while I agree with Senator Okia Omtata and Mr. Njiru about the issue that the constitution is not the biggest issue in our country, it is the problem of leadership. I also want to be alive to the idea that the 2010 constitution has been in place for now 14 years. And what have we achieved? It has created so many devolutions in terms of stealing public money. Number one, this constitution was copy-pasted here from the United States. And while it's a good thing, while it talks about progress and many other issues that were not there before, I feel like the implementation of this constitution is expensive. Number one, because look at the GDP of Kenya vis-a-vis the GDP of the United States. Hardly Kenya's budget beats any of the 50 states of the United States. What that means is that it has become a burden to Kenyans to carry. And right now we are, Parliament is, grappling with finances to fund healthcare, education, and many other things. But we don't have the money. Now, what happens in that?
Can you guys hear Duke? The Duke of Kiminini? The Duke of Kiminini, I think your mic has dropped. Maybe if you just come back later, please, that'd be great. Alafu, let's go to Grace. Grace, please speak to us about the Constitution, your thoughts of it. Should we amend it or should we try it out and then we can figure out what's happening?
Hello, I think I can hear you.
Oh, okay, you're back. Sorry, Grace, just pause for a second. The Duke, just for a minute or so, please.
Yeah, so I would have wished to ask Okia Omtata or probably Mr. Ndegwa Njiru to tell us how we can navigate this problem of carrying a heavy budget that hardly funds our constitutional offices. Number two, can you hear me? Yes. Number two, you look at the leaders we elect, and can you hear me, Binti Africa?
Yes,
we can hear you.
Carry on.
Okay, thank you. So you look at some of the constitutional offices that have been put in place by this constitution, and you realize that they are there for political expediency. Number one, the DCI and the ESCC are constitutional offices, but we don't see them doing much with regards to vetting and issuing, clearing clearance documents to our politicians when they are vying for these political offices. Just recently, we heard that there was a wrangle between the ODPP and the ESCC with regards to clearing of Mr. The former Kakamega Senator Wycliffe Oparanya. So we have someone backdating a letter just for convenience. They are serving us at political whims. So what can we do if it's not a constitutional change? What can we do to help these offices be standalones and maybe fight for the rights of Kenyans? And then I was also thinking about making the office of the Auditor General more strong, because of late we have seen that there are so many. Actually, it's the office of the Auditor General and the Salaries and Remuneration Commission that have been under heavy fire from politicians because they feel like they say too much, or maybe they hold on to their money, and they don't want their salaries reduced or something. So I don't know. Those are the questions I would be asking Mr. Ndegwa and probably Mr. Okiya Omtata, Senator. Thank you.
Mr. Ndegwa, did you hear the
Yes,
questions?
yes, I did. And I think I would be very brief on that answer. That the reason why Kenyans are feeling overburdened by the budget is purely, again, failure of leadership, because the leadership that we have, or we have been having, has failed and deliberately maintained corruption as a means of earning a livelihood. If you were to deal with the issues of corruption in government institutions, if you were to inculcate the culture of servant leadership other than getting to public service to enrich yourself, then we would be having prudent and proper management of our resources as contemplated under Article 210 of 201 of the Constitution, where we have discipline, accountability, and transparency in the manner in which we manage our resources. Remember, countries like Singapore were able to come out of poverty through proper and prudent management of their resources. That is what we are lacking in this country. Because in this country, people get into public leadership not to serve, but to enrich themselves. We must change that mentality that public offices are not a money minting machine, and that you are there to serve and not to enrich yourself. We should
Sorry,
inculcate discipline in governance.
sorry,
What
so,
is lacking here is,
sorry for
yes,
interjecting, Mr. Lawyer Ndegwa Njiru, but what you are talking about is actually morals, and commonly we do not legislate on morals. So while the Constitution is here to guide, it's a law. We need regulations that would punish someone going against it. So currently we have a law, but in terms of regulations we are lacking. So I don't know what is your point here.
well, my thinking is that this country has no deficiency of laws. We have seen individuals being arrested. The next day, because of indiscipline in government, they are appointed to various positions, and those cases are dropped. That is not the failure of the law, it's a failure in governance, it's mismanagement of the state affairs. So we have one of the best laws that we have legislated, but we do not have individuals who are willing to implement them. So while I agree you cannot legislate on morals, we have our laws clearly spelled out on what to do to an individual who steals our resources. But at the end of the day, the law is suppressed and superseded by the politics of the day. So we'll never get ourselves out of this conundrum until the day we shall get it proper in leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Advocate Njuru. I hope that answers your question, the Duke of Kiminini.
Sure,
I would
sure,
like to
sure.
go to.
He answered.
Okay, great. I'd like. Okay, perfect. I'd like to go to Grace next. I know you were here, but you dropped. So, please speak to us about the Constitution.
Okay, you asked. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm glad to be here. And you asked very pertinent questions about if I would advocate for the Constitution to be amended, and my answer is yes. And I want to be specific on the areas. First of all, I feel that we are overrepresented in terms of leadership. If we look at the number of governors we have 47 governors. We have so many senators. We also have so many MCAs. Some of them have not even gone to school. They don't know how to express themselves, even in the county assemblies. So first of all, I'll advocate that each and every leader in the constitution that is going to, maybe if we amend it, we must be led by people who went to school. That is number one. People who can address matters in an appropriate way. We cannot have leaders who have not gone to school. For example, the MCAs, you find most of them have not gone to school, but they want to work with governors who have masters and PhD degrees and degrees. So I feel that working with such kind of people is very unfair and sometimes it's very difficult. That is number one. Number two, if you ask me, if I look at the issue of funding, and especially when it comes to counties, according to Article 207 and Article 202, that advocates that we collect our resources, put in one basket, which is the treasury, and distribute evenly to each and every county. So I feel that we have too much counties to an extent. If you look at the treasury, let me speak of Nairobi County. The treasury releases money very late. In fact, those people can go up to 3 months without receiving any funds from treasury. I've witnessed it, and I also know I can testify about it. So it means that when we reach that extent, we have a constitutional crisis. Thirdly, when it comes to the CDF funds, I think the constitution should be amended. It is so hurting to see that we beg leaders literally to give us bursary, and that is our money. That is our taxpayers' money. I see families, parents parading themselves, waiting for bursary, and at the end of it, they are given 2,000 shillings, and this 2,000 for those children who are at day school. For the boarding school, they are given 5,000. And also, this money does not reach each and every person that is maybe lacking school fees. So you find that parent is still struggling. So I think amendment should be made in that area also. Then when it comes to women representatives, I don't see what they do. In fact, if you are keen enough, I think most of you watched Ida Odinga's birthday. It was more of a show off, and it was more of spitting on Kenyans, because if you can hold a birthday worth millions of shillings and there is nothing you've ever done to charity, there is nothing. As women leaders, I saw them, so many of them there, and they have never done anything constructive in defending the rights of women that should be respected. Lastly, I want to talk of this issue of leadership. When we check electoral laws, there's some amount of money that each and every person, when you're vying, you have to give to the IBC. I think that should be done away with, because it's limiting people, and especially young people who wants to vote. And I think amendment also should be made in a way that every leader that is vying is given taxpayers' money. Money should just be set aside for it, so that we don't have this issue of politicians using their money. Then when they get to the office, they steal the money that is meant for Kenyans to repay themselves on the money that they used during campaign. I think that is what has been draining us to the core, and that area also needs change. Thank you very much.
Hi.
Thank you very much,
Hello.
Grace. Hold on a second. I think Aya, you had your hand up. Do you want to go? Yeah. Ayo.
Ayo,
Ayo, can you hear me?
are you able to hear Bint Africa?
Binti Africa.
And but now, go ahead.
Binti Africa, can you hear me? Can I just
Yes. Yeah, Jack, go ahead. Grace, don't drop from the speakers panel, please. But for now, Jack, please go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to address a few issues that have been raised by the last speaker. I won't be able to raise to address all of them. I'll just like to address some of them regarding amending the constitution. So first of all, I would like to say that I do not really support amending the constitution before it is fully implemented. So for the first issue that the last speaker raised, that is about that she thinks we have been overrepresented. Yes, I think in some way we are really overrepresented by these people that we send up there. But then if you look at clearly what the roles of these people are, and the reason why they have been devolved to a level where we have 47 senators, 47 governors, and
What happened? I guess we are having some technical hitches. Binti Africa, are you able to hear me? What? So Jack, are you still on the mic? I guess I should refresh the space then.
see the space, so probably it dropped, but we are back. Let me just try to reconnect back our co-host and the speakers. So who was speaking? Because I wanted us to finish that conversation before we can retire to bed. Yeah, we are past normal time of this space. Leston, are you able to hear me?
Yes, KOT, is it me?
Okay, I think we should just wind up because
KOT, can you hear me?
most of the speakers had spoken, and of course we always have the same space every morning on Wanyama's timeline, so we can still continue the conversation tomorrow. But in the meantime, I'm trying to bring back my co-host so that they can give us the direction where we lost the conversation. Then
Okay.
after that, yes,
You can hear me.
yeah, sure.
I want to propose something.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's only fair if we say it's 11 and then we have the morning section. So let's take this topic to tomorrow. I'm even canceling my morning show. The topic that was there, we put it about the Constitution of Kenya. So for the morning drive,
Yeah, sure.
we do this. So we just play the song and the anthem, and then everyone in the speaker panel hapa hivi, tafadhali tukutane saa moja. Same place, same time. Sauti ya Mwananchi still continues in the morning. Please allow the host and the co-host to rest a little bit. Then we meet
Yeah,
in the
Wanyama,
morning. Yeah,
Can you hear me?
yeah, can hear you. Ayo.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea because we've even stretched past time. It's 8 minutes past 2300 hours. So I think it's just better. We just close it up at that point, and then we meet tomorrow morning. Just play the song, our ritual song, then our national anthem. Then we go to bed. I know we really wanted to speak and all that, but tomorrow is also another day.
Okay. So let me look for that song actually. Just a few.
Meanwhile, as you look for the song,
Search the
I
song.
hope you can still hear me. Am I still audible? Yes. I can see 100. Thank you so much, Binti, our new co-host. You did a very amazing job today, and we have to give you your flowers. Thank you so much for hosting, and you did a very amazing job. I didn't want to close the space before I tell you that, and for everyone who gave her ample time, means a lot to us as the team.
Okay, it's Wanyama. I have the song. Watch I confirm if you can hear. Can you hear?
I'm here to address you.
Can you hear?
Yes, 100%. Go ahead.
Okay, so let me cue these two songs. I mean, plus the national anthem, and then we call it a night. So
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm here to address you. Mr. Speaker, we don't fear you. Tukondani, we stomped inside.
Condolences to the families and friends of all the Gen Z we lost 2024, our freedom fighters, our heroes.